Good morning, broadcasting live from the Hermitage Golf Course for the 9th annual Tunnel to Towers Golf Tournament I already told you where the hell I'm at. I'm Robert Walsh. Titans made a transaction on Wednesday, signing defensive lineman James Lynch. Ian Rappaport reporting it is a one-year deal for the 26-year-old who spent last season with the Titans. Team also waives linebacker Kyron Johnson and wide receiver Tay Martin. NBA playoff action on Wednesday. The Knicks storm back from down 20 to beat the Celtics in Game 2 of the East semifinals. The Knicks will take a 2-0 series lead back home to MSG. The Thunder routed the Nuggets 149-106 to tie the series at 1-1 in the West. And in the NHL, the Maple Leafs took a 2-0 series lead over Florida with a 4-3 win. And in the West, Dallas took a Game 1 over Winnipeg for the 3-2 final. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Good morning, and it is a good morning, a beautiful morning out here at Hermitage Golf Course. We are thrilled to be back at Buddy Allen Carpet One's 9th annual Tunnel to Towers Golf Tournament out here at Hermitage. We are thrilled that although it's a cloudy day, the dark cloud over this show is gone. So for us, the sun is shining, the birds are chirping. Buck is off to Hilton Head. It is myself, Lucas Panzica, and Robert Walsh with you until 1 o'clock. Kirby Allen Kirby, of course, is here. CJ Ecke is manning the promo table. Tunnel to Towers is, as we know, an incredible cause. A family-run, top-rated charity, over 94% of all funds going to do good work. Visit T2T.org to learn more about how your donations can help change lives. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation is a nonprofit that helps America's heroes by providing mortgage-free homes to Gold Star and fallen first responder families with young children, and by building specially adapted smart homes for catastrophically injured veterans and first responders. They are also committed to eradicating veteran homelessness and helping America to never forget September 11th, 2001. We are going to have the great folks from Tunnel to Towers joining us on the show. Zach Allen from Buddy Allen Carpet One will stop by as well. Always a fun event. And this year, it is happening out at Hermitage Golf Course. Adam Sparks will join us at 10:20. Mike Herndon at 11:20. But we are living it up out here right now. Robert, I feel like I'm still on vacation. We're just sitting out here right outside of the clubhouse. I believe Kirby would know is that 18. We're right outside of 18 out here at Hermitage Golf Course. Now, this is the golf course with the sheep, correct?
Correct.
That's right. They're just patrolling the golf course.
They're just
I love
walking
this place.
around here?
Yeah, you should go check them out.
Go
for a stroll later on.
I will do it right now.
I love this place. So this is awesome. I feel so relaxed. We're leaning back in these basically recliners out here, and this is work until 1 o'clock. So we've got a lot to talk about today. You are back. Are you okay? How are you feeling?
Okay, first I'll say this. You are leaning back in that chair because when I tried to lean back in that chair, my fat ass almost did a backflip.
Yeah,
so
your legs almost went straight up in the air.
So there's no way that I'm going to lean back in this chair. I am back. Let's say 70%. Does that work for you guys? Does everybody feel comfortable? Okay, 64 according to Kirby. That's cool with me.
Okay.
But the one thing I did notice that while I was gone, our show has become the least entertaining, the most boring show on the station. And that is because everyone else has a rivalry. Everyone else has an argument that they're pushing forward, and I am jealous. I heard Ron Slay on 3HL yesterday berating Will Bowling, something about tiny hands and making fun of soccer. And then Will today had a rebuttal. When did we become old? When did we become lame? I want to have a rivalry. I want to have a villain. Who is our villain?
Yeah, so, I mean, by process of elimination, if RKW and 3HL are going to beef, then does our attention have to turn to Blaine and Zach? I think that's our only recourse. We can't just hop into the beef with RKW and 3HL. They've got what they've got going on. We just have to figure out something to be upset about with Blaine and Zach, which I struggle to do, to be honest.
Pick a fight with Don Davenport.
That's not a fight that I'm prepared to carry, Kirby.
Well, see, and that's also not a fight I'm prepared to carry with Blaine. I want nothing to do with Blaine.
I'm with you.
In a negative form. You know what I mean? I would love to have a card night or go out to eat with Blaine, but I don't want Blaine to be upset with me about something. So I'll stay away from Blaine. I think we should pick on somebody much smaller than us. Someone who can't make, potentially Jackson, potentially Joseph. Someone who is not here and can't defend themselves.
I like that. That's usually my style. But why can't we just be the Switzerland show? What's wrong with that?
And just argue with ourselves?
Just neutrality. Yeah, we'll just fight amongst ourselves and not get into the scuttlebutts going on, the kerfuffles among the other shows.
That's boring as hell.
Okay.
I want to be the guy that yells food fight.
So the back and forth between Ron and Will Bowling, 3HL and RKW, has largely been about Will's takes regarding the NBA playoffs, right? His general lack of interest in the NBA playoffs, which, by the way, were electric last night. The New York Knicks storming back from down 20 to beat the Boston Celtics. They're taking a 2-0 lead back to MSG. The Celtics' first-ever team to blow 20-point leads in each of the first two games in a series. They have missed an astounding 75 three-pointers over the course of the last two games. That's the highest mark in NBA history. Cole Kublik, the one dropping that stat on Twitter, former Auburn Center, SEC Network, and ESPN college football analyst. 75 missed three-pointers over two games is an absurd number. I think the New York Knicks might be my team. Now, generally, I will just default to the Grizzlies because that is the in-state team, the Memphis Grizzlies. I won't pretend to be a Grizzlies diehard. I will hop on the bandwagon when they're fun, which they often are with Ja Morant. I know this year had a weird ending with the firing of Taylor Jenkins, but I think I love the New York Knicks. I did not know until this morning when I decided to finally look up the meaning of bing bong. And I think it's my favorite saying that any fan base has. I think the Knicks have the most chaotic vibe around them right now in the postseason, NBA or NHL.
Bing bong.
Are you familiar with the meaning behind the term bing bong?
I've seen it in memes, but I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
So I finally looked it up on Urban Dictionary. Bing bong is a viral catchphrase that was coined by Side Talk, which is apparently like this online, just a digital New York satirical show that imitates the chime that sounds when NYC subway doors are closing. So the sound can be heard in the intro, apparently, of all of these episodes of this show, Side Talk, and it took on a whole life of its own with the Knicks fan base, with fans screaming bing bong into mics and
Bleep your
TV
life.
cameras.
Bing bong.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes,
So,
I'm familiar now.
I'm into this. I am fully aboard the bing bong train. Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks are my favorite team in the postseason right now, considering neither the Grizzlies nor the Preds are active at the moment. And I'm all in on the New York Knicks. That was awesome last night.
I think I'm going to have to poo-poo your fandom of the Knicks, dude. It's kind of like waiting until 2016 to be like, you know what? I think I'm going to like the Cubs or whenever the hell they won the World Series.
Yeah, that was it.
You can't hop in as soon as
After years of misery. This looks pretty fun.
Spike Lee's been crying after games, and you're like, I think I'm going to be a Knicks fan. You don't get to hop in at the, hey, we're almost at the station. Anybody want off? Yeah, I think I'll get off and get a ring. You don't get to do that. You can be a fan of them, but you're not. I don't even think you can be a fan. I'm sorry. You've allowed me to be in your Vol fandom, but I can't allow you to hop into the Knickerbockers.
Let me just be an admirer from afar then.
Okay. I can allow that.
615-737-1045 is how you hop in today. We are, of course, on 104.5 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Again, out here at Hermitage Golf Course for Buddy Allen Carpet's 9th annual Tunnel to Towers Golf Tournament. Can't wait to tell you more about Tunnel to Towers and the incredible stuff that they do to help the families of first responders and veterans. So, again, Buck is not here today. We are thrilled about that. We've got a great show for you. The Titans making a few transactions yesterday, bringing back one familiar face in James Lynch, the veteran defensive lineman who spent last season with the Titans, former fourth-round pick for Minnesota in the 2020, the COVID draft. James Lynch played all 17 games last year, 20 tackles, a couple passes defended, 1 sack, just more depth there on the interior of that defensive line, which the Titans are going to need to take a big step, by the way. I feel like that was a big part of their process defensively going into last season. We talked so much about needing to generate pressure from the interior, collapsing the pocket, trying to utilize that tandem of T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons. And T'Vondre Sweat checked a lot of the boxes that he needed to check last year, but given the deficiencies and lack of high-octane playmakers off the edge for the Titans right now on this roster, it feels like the pass rush as a whole is going to be very dependent on Jeffrey Simmons getting back to what we know Jeffrey Simmons to be at his peak in the NFL and available consistently, and T'Vondre Sweat taking a big leap, not just as a big run stuffer, but as a guy that can affect the quarterback.
Well, and I think one thing he proved last year in Sweat was that he doesn't have to be held to the same standards he did at Texas as far as snap counts are concerned. Everybody was like, he's too big. He's not going to be able to be on the field that much, and still played in a pretty impressive snap count. With James Lynch, 23% of the snaps. That's what you're looking for. A guy who can provide a little rotation in the defensive line room. And adding another ginger to Nashville is always a good thing. Those are my people. We're slowly being outnumbered. You know it's a dying hair color, by the way, because it's
How's that?
It's not a dominant trait. So if it has to sneak in there in the Punnett square of genetics to even get made. So eventually, one day, there will be no more redheaded people out there. So you should enjoy James Lynch and myself while you can.
Is there science to back what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm sure there is, but I don't know anything about it. I've just seen someone else say it, and I adopted it as my own opinion.
That's what we do. The Titans also waived a pair of injured players in linebacker Kyron Johnson and wide receiver Tay Martin. Rookie minicamp gets started this weekend. We will hear from Brian Callahan in a press conference on Saturday. He will speak at noon. There will be practice afterwards, and then select players will be available to media at 1:45 Saturday afternoon. So looking forward to hearing from some of these rookies. Feel like there will be an elevated amount of attention on everything that happens with this Titans rookie class because of one Cam Ward, and that gets started this weekend. A lot of teams around the NFL already well underway with rookie minicamp. We will hear more from the rookies next week, and we'll talk more about the rookies tomorrow in anticipation of that. But Titans bringing back James Lynch on a one-year deal.
One thing to correct before we go to break here, SSJ Titan X says in the chat, Bing Bong is Tony Soprano's strip club. No, that is the Bada Bing.
Mm-hmm.
Very close. You had the Bing part right. Bleep your life, Bada Bing doesn't sound as good.
No, it doesn't have the same ring to it.
You just got to hit him with the Bing. Bing, we need to add that as a drop. I love the Bing Bong. Yeah, maybe we can both try to sneak into the Knicks fans.
Let's be a Bing Bong show. Let's do it. Game 3, going to MSG with the Knicks, a 2-0 lead over the scrambling Celtics, it seems.
I would say Burt Bong, but then people are going to make a bunch of jokes in the chat.
That's a whole other thing. All right, let's talk to Adam Sparks. I don't know where he lands on the Knicks bandwagon situation, but he has covered extensively Tennessee football and the, let's say, dust settling after the Nico Iamaleava saga, and just where the roster stands right now and how Tennessee is positioning itself as there could be a pretty big landmark moment for the history of college sports here in the coming days, with the House settlement potentially getting approved by Judge Claudia Wilkin, revisions being applied and being put in front of her. So we'll talk to Adam Sparks about all of that and what it means for Tennessee football coming up next on 104.5 The Zone. So as Titans rookie minicamp is right around the corner, rookies will be in Nashville working at the facility for the first time. Tennessee awaits Joey Aguilar to arrive in Knoxville to get a chance to work with his new teammates for the first time since that transfer from UCLA. The Nico divorce, the dust has settled, and Adam Sparks of Knox News joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. So, Adam, I just think about sometimes an alternate universe where we are still talking about Nico Iamaleava and his year 2 leap as a starter in Tennessee's system. And for a while, Adam, every time you were on here, we were doing a Nico watch, a Nico check-in. And I just think about going back in time and telling myself on May 8th of 2024 that we'd be doing a Joey Aguilar watch, who at that point was the starting quarterback at Appalachian State.
Yeah, of all the things I thought I'd be doing this time of year, it would not be checking in on Appalachian State's final exam schedule to see when the quarterback is going to get in town. By the way, today is the last day of final exams at Appalachian State. If that confuses anyone, Joey Aguilar, the UCLA transfer, to my understanding, was enrolled in UCLA but was still taking where he had played the last 2 seasons, and he dropped his UCLA classes, kept his App State classes because those classes are about to end. And so then he can get to Tennessee about a month earlier. So Tennessee is waiting on their new quarterback to finish up and I guess graduate from App State. That would be next week if he goes to that ceremony and then get to Knoxville ASAP.
So how does that line up with the typical timeline then, Adam, of a player joining a new program out of the spring portal window, at least to the quarterback position, going back to Joe Milton in 2021 when he came over from Michigan? Is this a little bit later than you would like? Are they trying to make it to where it's earlier than normal? How does it stack up to the typical timeline for a player in that situation?
It's about the same. The summer program, as they would call it, for Tennessee starts June 1st. So that's essentially when all the players need to be back on campus, enrolled in their classes. Some of them take like a Maymester, but June 1st is when the team is back. They're working out. They're doing things on the field. They have 8 hours a week to do things with coaches during the summer. So you always have transfer portal. You almost always have transfer portal guys on campus by June 1st. Usually they get moved in and all that sometime in like mid to late May, and that's when Joe Milton would have been here. So this is similar. And so you could say, Joe Milton, that worked out okay. I mean, he was the starter for the beginning of the season. He wasn't awful. Hendon Hooker obviously passed him up that season, but this does happen. It's a pretty big transition because you have Joey Aguilar, a quarterback who was good at the mid-major level. You don't know if he can play at the SEC level or if he'll be over his head. He's got will be the third offense that he will be running in the last 5 months. So you got to do all that, and they just don't have much time for him to catch up, and they don't have a surefire starter if he's not ready because Jake Merklinger was moving along fine. His pace to be the backup this year, but if you're asking him to potentially be the starter, I mean, you're punching the gas at least a year ahead of his development.
So are you looking at this now, Adam Sparks of Knox News with us, as a battle between Joey Aguilar and Jake Merklinger? Are you looking at it as Joey Aguilar's to lose? How are you framing the quarterback battle in your mind well ahead of training camp?
Well, I think they'll lay it out as a 3-man race because George McIntyre will be in the mix. I just think they would prefer to redshirt George McIntyre. I mean, if they have to go to McIntyre, as a starter this season, that means you were 0 for 2 with these other 2 guys. So that could happen, but yeah, they would like it. Conceivably, it would be Aguilar or Merklinger. I think it'll be a legitimate competition. I mean, coaches always say it's open competition. They'll actually mean it here. It's just the difference of Aguilar, who's got a lot of experience, started 30-something games, versus Merklinger, who has barely played but has a 1-year head start in the system. So it's familiarity with the system versus experience playing college football. And so, You could say it's Aguilar's job to lose because obviously they went and got him to be the starter. If they thought Merklinger would be the starter, they wouldn't have gone after established starters. So they're bringing Aguilar in to start. But I wouldn't say it's his job to lose because if you played a game tomorrow, it's Merklinger's job because he already knows the system. He can run it. So Aguilar's got to play catch up in the system. But, whether or not he can do that, we'll see. But Merklinger has a head start with him there. If Aguilar can catch up in the system to him, then his experience probably wins out.
As the dust has settled on this, where are you on the current state of this roster? Understanding that they're still looking to add in certain spots out of the spring transfer portal, players that are still there. They do bring in Colton Hood, the cornerback out of Colorado. But, just how much does the omission of Nico Iamaleava, traded out for Joey Aguilar, adjust your frame of mind in terms of the talent profile of this Tennessee roster?
Well, I didn't think this was a playoff team, and I was on the record before Nico left of saying that. I thought this was probably a 9-3 type team. With Nico gone, I think then you're probably talking about 7-5 if you can't figure out the quarterback, or 8-4 if you can figure out the quarterback. And obviously, there's a lot of wiggle room within the schedule because it's not the hardest schedule in the world. But I think this just sort of amplifies the other issues on the roster. Because when you had Nico, you said, well, they have Nico. He's developing. He's got a ton of talent. They can utilize him to bring out the best in a Mike Matthews or Chris Brazel or Braylon Staley. He can sort of lift the rest of the offensive roster. With him gone, suddenly you see these warts even more on this roster, and it's not even necessarily warts in terms of talent. It's just depth. If they're playing one game, I don't hate the 3 wide receivers they'll have starting. But if you're playing, a few games, a full season, you could drop off a lot after the first 3. And that's only if you're buying into their first 3 being good enough, their first 3 wide receivers. Offensive line, I could see working out, but there's just so many unproven on there. And then you flip the defensive side. I like the defense, again, for a game. I don't know that I like the defense for a season because one injury at linebacker and things drop off quickly. Another injury in the secondary, same story. I like the defensive line. It's not as deep as last year. So I think there's just a lot of depth issues on this team. Now, I will say Tennessee fans freak out about that, and I understand. But most programs in the country are going through that. We're so used to seeing teams that have solid backups, proven backups. Very few teams have backups anymore because those guys jumped into the portal.
Yeah, and you're coming off a playoff exit against the $20 million roster that wins the national championship in Ohio State. I know you wrote about this, Adam, on Knox News, the figure that is being thrown around regarding the Texas roster in that $35 million range. And then Danny White, who says at Big Orange Caravan that we are one of the haves, not the have-nots. Some Tennessee fans are certainly sitting around looking, waiting for the Vols to be mentioned in that top tier of what players are being paid on the roster. How would you just sum up right now where Tennessee currently stands in the rat race of NIL spending on the football roster specifically? Understanding revenue sharing is right around the corner.
Well, sort of the way that I put it in the story is that Texas and Ohio State and maybe Oregon and a few others, that's the elite upper class. Tennessee, I think, right now is the upper middle class. They are, relative to the rest of college football, they're top 10%. But if you're comparing them to Ohio State and Texas, they're behind. And, Danny White has done what he can do. He's generated a ton of money. The budget is skyrocketing, revenue is skyrocketing. But, it's just a little different deal when you're talking about NIL and rev share. Revenue sharing, when it comes in, we think it'll start out in the summer. You will have a cap on that of what you can spend, and then you've got to top that off with NIL. That's the difference. That people think revenue sharing, that salary cap coming in, lowers the ceiling, that everybody will be sort of on a level playing field. It doesn't. It just lifts the floor. It means there's a whole lot more buyers in the market. All these schools that weren't competing for players. Now they have a cap, so they have some money, so they're buying now. But that doesn't mean that the ceiling comes down on spending. It means the ceiling still goes up. And Texas and Ohio State and Oregon and those schools, we're going to keep pushing up. Tennessee has done well with that. They've expanded their NIL budget. They're spending a lot more money, but I would say the others have accelerated it more so.
I feel like Danny White puts great value in being a well-rounded athletic department. I mean, all of these marks that Tennessee is achieving, right? The first-round picks and the NBA, WNBA, NFL, MLB drafts in one calendar year, the only school to make the playoff, make both Sweet 16s, the College World Series, all of these marks they're achieving as a well-rounded department, and I think Danny White puts value in that. But at some point, Adam, does that become an obstacle for Tennessee to make up some ground in football when you have other departments that are going all in with football with some sort of reckless abandon towards other sports?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I'm actually writing a piece along those lines, breaking down the numbers of that. I'll have that in Knox News in a few days. It's the blessing of winning and everything could be a curse to Tennessee in the rev share era, because a lot of schools right now are trying to figure out how they're going to manage their salary cap, and then an extension of that is NIL. And they're trying to figure out what's our weak program that we can trim some of that payroll off of. And most schools have an obvious weak program. You may want women's basketball to win, but if it's hardly ever won in decades, you're not going to dump money into it to pay the players. You're instead going to divert that money to baseball or men's basketball, or up the budget in football. Tennessee doesn't have one of those programs. I mean, baseball a few years ago would have been that program, but now they're the defending national champion. Lady Vols for the last 3 years, you could make an argument of that, but now they're picking up 5 stars, and they're sort of loading up to try to make a run at what their brand has been historically. You can't trim off of football because that's your primary sport. As long as Rick Barnes is here, you're going to try to put together a national championship type roster. I mean, I've gotten this question a lot from Tennessee fans. Why can't Rick Barnes show Josh Heupel how to build a roster and go get players? Well, I think the answer is within the question. He went and got a lot of high-priced players at the same time that football could not land a few high-priced players. That's not a coincidence. This money is not endless, and if you're trimming from one place, you're going to put it on another, and that's just sort of the reality of it.
Adam Sparks, watch out for that article on Knox News. You can follow him on Twitter at Adam Sparks. The addition of Colton Hood, Adam, the cornerback out of Colorado. I'll be honest, I was looking at Tennessee and moves they could make at the wide receiver spot for what's a relatively thin position. Maybe some other areas. I guess corner didn't strike me as a huge position of need, with Ricky Gibson remaining on the roster, despite the fact that Jermod McCoy is in the midst of this ACL rehab. But what did you make of the addition of Colton Hood from Colorado?
I mean, it's a good depth piece. It's a good insurance policy, because I know there's been a lot of optimism about Jermod McCoy, and he could be back really early in the season. They'd love him to be back for the Georgia game. But, asking a corner to play at a really high level coming off an ACL tear, you can be the fastest healer in the world. That's not a great position to just bounce back quickly from an ACL tear. So they did need some depth at corner. As much as they need wide receiver help and those sort of things in offense, they did go to the playoff last year because their defense was really, really good and their offense was good enough, at least by Josh Heupel standards. It was still really good. But, if they can be good in the secondary, if they can still have their pass rush, they can be good on the defensive line, they can win a lot of games because of defense. So they needed another depth piece there in the secondary, which could be thin if you have a couple more injuries. And Colton Hood is not he was in a rotation at Colorado. He wasn't starting, but he was in a rotation. I would say he would be the level of guy that Tennessee, would hope to recruit and develop. A probably like a 4-star level player, and if he can play to that in the SEC, then they got a good one.
Adam Sparks, our guest. You wrote about this as well on Knox News, the lack of a general manager for Tennessee's football roster, that 11 of 16 SEC programs have one in place. One notable of those 5 that don't is Georgia. Where are you right now, and how much feedback are you getting from Tennessee fans right now on the lack of a general manager, especially considering how the Nico fallout all came about?
Well, Tennessee fans want to understand what a GM would be, and that's a pretty good question because, like Jim Nagy at Oklahoma, he ran the Senior Bowl. He's at Oklahoma. I believe LSU's got one. Texas has one. Some of these have GMs that are legitimate GMs, at least close to like an NFL GM, where they are a partner with the head coach in building the roster. Sometimes these guys like answer to the president or chancellor rather than the head football coach. I think that could potentially be a problem if your head coach is making an enormous amount of money and they don't get to tell the GM how to build the roster that they have. We've seen that, issues like that in the NFL before. See Bill Parcells, right? But if you just have but if you have the other kind of GM, which most college GMs now are just player personnel guys who organize things, but then at the end of the day, they're walking into the coach's office and asking what to do. Hey, do you want this player or that player? Well, if you're paying a guy $800,000, $1 million, or whatever a year to just walk into the coach's office and ask him what he wants, what his decision is, why do you have that guy? It's just like an extra layer you don't need. But I will say Tennessee probably need to move faster in the portal. And so one argument for a GM would be just a guy that can have things organized quicker. But sometimes those guys also slow things down. So as of right now, Tennessee doesn't have a GM, but they're going to reevaluate it once revenue sharing comes this summer and they see how things go from there.
If there is one player to be added in the portal, Adam, what position would you expect it's at?
Wide receiver is what they need. The problem is there's just not a lot of good options out there. I would say, the big mistake they made is they did not aggressively go get a wide receiver in the winter portal. If they had done that, they wouldn't have this urgency to go get one now because there's just not a lot of good options and they're usually way overpriced in the spring portal. Teams are desperate. So I would say of the guys that Tennessee has looked at, probably 2 of them would even be to the level of that would help Tennessee immediately. That would be better than most of the guys they have. And they didn't get either one of those guys. And so really the rest of the options you have, you can bring them in, but you ask yourself the question, is this guy we're getting out of the portal better than the freshman we just had in spring practice? And if the answer is no, why are you adding him? Then you're just adding the guy to, be an insurance policy if you have a ton of injuries at the end of the year. By the way, these kids aren't stupid, and their agents aren't stupid either, at least not always. Usually they can see that and figure that out and say, you're just adding me to sit on the bench just in case of emergency. And so I'm not going to go there. I'll take some money elsewhere. And that's why it's hard to get a wide receiver.
Sure. Certainly makes it look like that 3 of Staley, Brazel, and Matthews will be locked in as Tennessee's primary trio at receiver next season. Adam, 4 Vols drafted a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, James Pierce Jr., Omar Norman Lott, Dante Thornton, and Dylan Sampson. Of those 4, which will be the hardest to replace for Tennessee in 2025?
I think Joshua Josephs can replace Pierce to some extent. Omar Norman Lott, they have low numbers, but they still have I guess it would be Omar Norman Lott just because they do have some issues there of some depth and having a pass rushing interior guy. But really all those are sort of even. I mean, the obvious answer would be Dylan Sampson because he's the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. So maybe I should just say him because they're going to need somebody to help the quarterback this year. So I guess I'll go with Sampson. That being said, Josh Heupel's had all kinds of different running backs and duos and trios, and they've always produced. And so I actually think the running game is still going to be pretty solid. But I guess I'll go with Dylan Sampson just because with all the questions at quarterback, you would have loved to have, a guy that you can count on to just pick up yards in any circumstance.
He is Adam Sparks of Knox News. Keep an eye out for his piece coming up on Tennessee and revenue sharing, as that seems to be right around the corner. We'll see if we get a ruling and approval from Judge Claudia Wilkin on that House settlement here in the coming days and how Tennessee will respond. Adam, thanks so much for the time, man. Always enjoy it.
Yep, have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too. At Adam Sparks is where you can follow him on Twitter. Great work covering the Tennessee Volunteers. This weekend is the, I guess we can't really say this about a baseball series, but the Adam Sparks Bowl of college baseball with Tennessee and Vanderbilt going head-to-head in Knoxville.
I do want to make one correction, though, for Adam and any other Tennessee fans when you're going to reference ASU. It is Appalachian State. It is Appalachian. Y'all got all kind of funny sayings around here. Y'all don't say Santa Fe. Y'all say Santa Fe or whatever the hell it is.
Milan.
It is Appalachian State. It ain't Appalachian, Appalachian, or anything else y'all could figure out to say. It is Appalachian.
You said ASU also.
Well, I just saw it in the chat. I didn't want to give the pronunciation away before my big build-up.
ASU for me is always Arizona State.
For sure.
Yeah.
I saw somebody in the chat do it, but I didn't want to give that away before my big build. This is show business. You know what I mean? I'm trying to add pomp and circumstance to what we're doing here.
We'll need a scouting report on the Sheep. Were you able to catch up with any of them?
I wasn't able to do a scouting report on them, but I'll do a scouting report on me looking at Zone TV. I look heavy as hell. I look like a damn love seat sitting in this recliner right now.
I disagree. I think it's a great angle.
If you think so.
We'll see how Zach Allen looks in that love seat coming up of Buddy Allen Carpet 1 as we are out here at Hermitage Golf Course for the Buddy Allen 9th Annual Tunnel to Towers Golf Tournament. An incredible cause that we're excited to tell you more about with Zach Allen next on 104.5 The Zone.
The Tennessee Men's Clinic is such a great resource for guys who have given up if you're dealing with performance issues or you're starting to get frustrated because you just kind of feel tired or sluggish, not like yourself, and assume it's part of the aging process. Doesn't have to be that way. Low energy and performance issues aren't inevitable. Solutions exist, and they exist at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, where there is no guesswork and no gimmicks, just real science and effective treatments. They are there to help you beware of online fixes like generic online pills that are overpriced and ineffective, and to provide you with personalized treatment plans, including multiple urologists and providers that are there to tailor solutions specifically to your body and to your goals. They offer you comprehensive men's services, including ED treatments, testosterone, and a lot of things that many guys don't even know exist. They're there to help you with affordable and accessible consultation, which includes blood work with results before you leave. So call them today. Stop procrastinating. 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or visit them online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com today.
It is year 9 of the Buddy Allen Carpet One Tunnel to Towers Golf Tournament, this year out at Hermitage Golf Course. And there is a lot to tell you about this incredible cause. And we will talk a lot more about Tunnel to Towers specifically later. But right now we've got Zach Allen of Buddy Allen Carpet One, a locally owned and operated business. Zach, Jenna, Judson, proud sponsors of the Tunnels to Towers Foundation. And over the last 8 years, you guys have raised over $300,000 for this amazing foundation. I mean, first of all, thank you for having us and for sitting down. And I mean, if I told you 8 years ago that you'd be at over $300,000 in less than a decade, like, what was the goal relative to what you guys have achieved, which is incredible?
Well, our first year of even having a fundraiser for Tunnel to Towers, we raised $2,500, and we thought, oh man, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I bet next year we could do 5. And then the golf tournament came in, and every year, that was 20. And all of a sudden, it went 2,500 to 20,000, and then just each year, the love and the support of the community for our golf tournament just continues to grow. And I can't thank everybody out here enough, and everybody that is a part of this, because without them, we want to do good things, and so we're glad they're down for that.
And I appreciate you holding it and having us out on a day strategically where Buck is gone. He just would have put a damper on the whole thing.
I'm so glad after 8 years, I finally get the A team. Finally. I mean, 3HL, Buck Rising. No, I finally get the A team.
We're happy to be here. Happy to be here. How'd this partnership between you and Tunnels to Towers come about?
So they brought this. We're part of Carpet One, which is the largest buying cooperative in floor covering. So they brought it to us as stockholders as a foundation they had found to support. Actually, Teresa Fisher with Carpet One was neighbors, grew up with a guy that was part of the foundation. They reconnected, and the big thing, 94% of every dollar that is donated goes to do good. There is no multi-millionaire CEO, like literally it is just the cost. All the people that are here from the foundation are here on their dime. They did bring out one of our smart home recipients. They're building 3 houses down in Franklin, and Eli is here today, and so he's having a great time. But that's it, just the expenses to bring these people around and take care of. But 94 cents of every dollar, they're in the top 5% of charities in the United States.
That's killer.
Amazing. You can donate by coming to Hermitage today and doing it in person, Hermitage Golf Course, or visiting T2T, that is T, the number 2, and the letter T.org. So was there anything specific that, I guess, gave you a personal connection to Tunnel to Towers? I mean, of all the foundations that you guys could have supported with this event, was there anything for you that had you gravitating towards Tunnel to Towers specifically?
It can be nothing other than the fact I remember exactly where I was on that day, and sitting in the car and I was listening to Rick and Bubba.
Wow.
Of all things, and they start, because they got the TVs, and wait, what's going on? They start talking about this, and me and my dad, we had left shooting the commercial for the reboot of the Ralph Emery Show at Fox 17. So we're on the way back, listening to Rick. They start, and we're like, what? So we get in there. One of our old sales guys actually had a real old TV. Turn it on, and so glued to that. So when this foundation, that and what they were doing for these, when we started catastrophically injured war heroes, was just, I can't say no. I can't. This is a great thing, and then that's grown from there to eradicating homelessness. I talked to the CEO, Frank Siller, and when they first bought a hotel to house and counsel homeless vets, and he said, I can cure this for everybody who wants to with y'all's help. He said, the government's not going to do it. That I can do it. And now here they are 4 villages later, tens of thousands being helped, and it's great. So it's just, thankfully we have less war to worry about with our catastrophic heroes, so they've expanded it into all these other products, and it's great. I love it.
That's incredible. Zach Allen of Buddy Allen Carpet One is sitting down with us out here at Hermitage Golf Course. You can visit their location at 2405 Lebanon Pike in Donaldson. Who's manning it today? What's going on over at Buddy Allen Carpet One?
Plenty of free linoleum samples out there.
Linoleum, yeah. I really didn't realize you were 70 years old.
Just wanted to use a big word to impress you.
Your redheads age well. Actually, nobody's there today, so we'll be there tomorrow.
Go get all the free carpet you want.
If you need us today, the phone is being directed right to my brother Judson's pocket, so call him up all day long. Everybody hit him up at 615-883-3289.
That is the definition of family-owned right there. So you kind of made a reputation for yourself every year at this event wearing a kilt.
I know.
And so I almost didn't recognize you when I walked in because you're wearing your khaki pants But where did the kilt come from, and why go away from it in 2025?
Oh, well, originally I was in St. Andrews, Scotland a couple of years ago with my brother, and across the street was a kilt maker, like an old school, like 8 yards of wool real kilt. So I went in there, and he talked to, because I have a Scottish background, part of my family, the Allens. And he's like, oh, so we opened up. We did some research in a book that finds your clans and tribes and stuff, and that's your tartan, which is the color of your kilt. And I said, I got to have it. So I got me a kilt.
Amazing.
See, now you've tickled me because I ain't Scottish, but I do have a whole bunch of Irish in me, if you can't tell by my neon white skin. So now I got to get me one. You were saying this it didn't feel like great kilt weather, but now that the sun's kind of peeking out a little bit, the day's starting to turn a little beautified for us, I might want to let them hang a little bit. I need me a kilt out here. I need to get me one.
When I thought it was going to be rainy and wet, 8 yards of wool gets really heavy, and it was just end up falling off all day. So, yes, now is perfect kilt weather. So, yeah, I've had to apologize about dozens and dozens of times. Everybody's like, man, where's the
Everybody's
kilt?
bringing it up.
It's okay. You don't have to apologize. The way you're sitting right now would have been a detriment to me if you was wearing a kilt. So,
That'd be a good show. You expect a little of that, didn't
you
you?
missed out on the peak show, man.
It sounds like you need to go on a heritage trip over to Ireland, the way Zach did to Scotland.
Find your region, because Irish kilts are by region versus family. So if you can trace it back, you'll find kind of what area of Ireland your clan comes from, and that will be the color of your kilt.
See, I would be interested in doing that, but then I'd probably figure out if I did like a 23andMe, I'd figure out my daddy wasn't really my daddy or something.
He's afraid of what he'll find out.
You don't know what happens on my end of the family tree, so I'd rather let dogs lie.
There's
You know
a
what
lot
I
of
mean?
darkness in that closet.
I'll just lie. I'll be like, yeah, it's a green kilt. They're from this part. Give me that part. How about that? We're going to guess. I bet they like potatoes. How about that?
I got a potato kilt.
So what is, just a parting message for folks that maybe haven't heard the Tunnel to Towers, are being reminded of the great work that they do, on just what it means to you and Buddy Allen Carpet One as a whole, and why folks should go learn more and see what they can do to help?
Hey, there's their slogans, let us do good. So of all the things they do, for fallen first responder Gold Star families with children, they pay off mortgages for them so they don't have to leave their house. They take care of our catastrophically injured war heroes. We're building 3 houses in Williamson County this year, and as well as eradicating homelessness amongst veterans. So what you can do is do good, and what would mean the most to me is going to t2t.org. You can sign up for an $11 a month donation. Less than a cup of coffee, a month, and it'll just automatically it comes off my card, and it goes. You can do that, and I would appreciate as many of y'all out there that could do that. That would mean a lot to me.
Awesome. Buddy Allen Carpet One, been partnering with Tunnels to Towers for nearly a decade. This is the 9th annual golf tournament, and we are out at Hermitage Golf Course. The link is in the F&M Bank chat on 104.5 The Zone TV for you guys to go and donate. We'll learn more about Tunnels to Towers specifically later on. But, Zach, thanks, man. Always enjoyed being out here.
Enjoyed it. Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
A-Team.
Zach Allen of Buddy Allen Carpet One has been our guest. When we come back, the weirdest quarterback situation in the NFL. It's got an active starting quarterback preaching in a megachurch about his shoulder injury. We'll talk about it next.
Good morning from the Buddy Allen Carpet One Florida home. 9th annual Tunnel to Towers golf tournament, broadcasting live from Hermitage Golf Course. I am Robert Walsh. The Titans made a transaction on Wednesday, signing defensive lineman James Lynch. Ian Rappaport reporting it is a one-year deal for the 26-year-old who spent last season with the Titans. Titans also waiving linebacker Kyron Johnson and wide receiver Tay Martin. NBA playoffs tonight. The Timberwolves hosting the Warriors in Game 2 of the Western semifinals. Golden State with a 1-0 lead. Tip-off is at 7:30. And in the NHL second-round action, the Capitals hosting the Hurricanes for Game 2 at 6 p.m. Carolina has a 1-0 lead in the series in the West. And in the West, the Golden Knights look to even the series at home against Edmonton in Game 2. Puck drop is at 8:30. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Oh, the sun is poking out. It is a beautiful day as we broadcast live from Hermitage Golf Course, the 9th annual Buddy Allen Carpet One Tunnel to Towers golf tournament. Big thanks to Zach Allen from Buddy Allen Carpet One. They do great work with Tunnel to Towers. As he sat down with us, we'll learn more about the foundation itself coming up later on. Mike Herndon will join us in about 20 minutes as well, give his thoughts on the current state of the Titans as rookie minicamp is right around the corner. But I really thought you guys would talk about this last week when I was gone. The weirdest quarterback situation in the NFL. We're going to talk about the most interesting later on in the show, but right now let's talk about the weirdest. The one that's got one incumbent starter speaking at a megachurch about his shoulder injury, and the one that's got the New Orleans Saints quarterback room with a big old question mark on it. So let's hear first from Derek Carr, who was preaching at a church in Vegas. And if you don't know, Derek Carr has a shoulder injury that we learned about, a few weeks ago? Ian Rappaport reporting on it that, could rule him out for the entirety of the 2025 season.
Nuts.
And there have been questions about this shoulder injury. How real is it? Is this just Derek Carr thinking he's about to get Michael Penixed by the Saints in the draft and trying to find a way out? So first, here's Derek Carr while preaching at a church in Vegas, talking about his situation with New Orleans.
Yes, I have to say this. I hate that I have to say this, but I have to say this. Yes, I have a shoulder injury, despite what ESPN says, and what some lady on a podcast might think. Okay, I have an MRI report to prove it. The team knows about it. We've been in constant communication. There's nothing wrong. We're figuring it out, and we're going to go forward with that. Is that okay? And I've been dealing with this, and I've been dealing with people lying about me. I've been dealing with them saying this and that, and I'm like, Lord, why do I have to continue to deal with this nonsense? Like, what is going on? And I say that to preface with, you never know what someone's really going through. And so why do we continually try to attack people? And I would say attack people that are trying to do things maybe the right way. Why do we continually try? Why do we always have to have an opinion? Why do we always? Twitter and Instagram has ruined things for some people. Because now all these people think that they have voices that have to be heard. And so some people's voices don't need to be heard right now. I just got to be honest with you. Because not one of our opinions in here matters. Did you know that? The only opinion that matters is that text right there. It is the Word of God. And everything must bow at that.
That is Derek Carr talking about his shoulder injury at church.
Two things here. One, he's doing the Lord's work. He's at a church in Vegas, surrounded by heathens, surrounded by all these heathens. I've got to speak to him. And I'm surprised he didn't break into, what's the Clemson coach at Dabo?
Dabo.
Surprised he didn't break into a Dabo thing off the rip there with like a, yeah, I do have a shoulder injury, but I know a man that will shoulder all your burdens, and that is our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Surprised Derek Carr didn't do an easy landing there.
It's a layup.
Dude, a layup. Come on, set it up on a tee for him. Knock it out of the park.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Plus, you know them people in Vegas ain't never heard the word of God. So he could have came up there and said anything, and they'd have been tickled.
That felt like something straight out of Righteous Gemstones.
100%. Now, what are y'all nerds doing up here worried about my shoulder injury?
So that's Derek Carr talking about some lady with a podcast, Diana Rossini, catching a shot there. So, but there have been eyebrows raised at, suddenly in March or April, you have a shoulder injury that we've just learned about that might rule you out for the entirety of the following season. So Jane Slater of NFL Network has done a lot of digging on this, and this is Slater talking about everything she has learned about the Derek Carr fiasco in New Orleans.
You know, I've covered some interesting stories that have had twists and turns, and this might be one of the more interesting ones I've covered, Tom, in my now almost 10 years here at the NFL Network. When I was in New Orleans, it came out ahead of the draft that Derek Carr had this shoulder injury, and I think it shocked actually a lot of people even that are familiar with the team and work around the facility. And Mickey Loomis wasn't elaborating on it despite getting pressed by reporters. I've asked a lot of questions, and I'm sure they're very similar to the fans. Well, when did this shoulder injury take place? Well, I've gotten just a little bit more information today. It's my understanding that Derek Carr absolutely believes that this shoulder injury took place during the same game that he injured the wrist. Now, why are we just hearing about it now? Well, it's my understanding that he wasn't really throwing, obviously, after he injured the wrist. And, afterwards, they were essentially eliminated from contention. And he really didn't start throwing a bunch until about here lately as he was getting ready to start ramping up for the spring. And that's when he noticed that he had this issue in his shoulder. So it's my understanding that he has had surgery to that shoulder before, because there are plenty of fans out there, and I've seen people, on the airways, well, why does he just go get shoulder surgery? Let's knock this thing out. Let's get a resolution. Sounds like he's trying to avoid that, but he wants to see if he can actually play through with this shoulder injury. The other thing that's come up, Tom, is I've heard people down in New Orleans say, well, where is Carr? Why isn't he around the building? It's a new coaching staff. Why isn't he contributing more? He is the face of the franchise. Well, it's my understanding that he has been down to New Orleans twice in the last few weeks. He's met with the team doctor at the facility. Now, it's unclear if he's met with Kellen Moore in person. I know that he and Kellen Moore have at least talked, but it doesn't sound like, and I've heard this because, living here in Dallas, I've got a lot of friends that are Saints fans. I know a lot of people in New Orleans. It was beginning to feel like maybe Carr was giving them the middle finger down there. It is my understanding, according to someone close to him, that that is not the case here. He is trying to figure out what makes the most sense for his shoulder, and he is in constant communication with Mickey Loomis, but it sounds like there's going to be a decision sooner rather than later. So that's all the update that I can give you. I wish that I had more, but that's more than we've had in the last couple of weeks, Tom.
So there you go. Derek Carr believes he hurt his shoulder in the same game that he hurt his wrist, which would have been Week 14 against the New York Giants, and that he didn't figure it out. He didn't notice it until he started to ramp up for off-season work. And prior to that, Jane Slater also reported that he only threw a little bit in a walkthrough with a fake football to injured players in Alvin Kamara. He didn't get a chance to come back and really push it because the Saints got eliminated and were out of contention, and they sat players. So he didn't notice it until later in the offseason. She says the Saints are trying to decide what's best for the team. Derek is still actively trying to make the best decision for his shoulder. And as you heard her say, the decision either way will be made sooner rather than later. I guess my question is, what's the decision? Is it to have some sort of season-ending procedure? Is it to move on? I mean, Derek Carr, they had an out, right, after last season where they would have taken on quite a bit of dead cap, $80 million in dead cap, but he's got a cap hit of $20 million in 2025, $69 million in 2026.
Nice.
So, yeah, what's the decision is my question right now with Derek Carr and the Saints. It's a weird and nebulous situation.
It seems like the Saints have been trying to figure out this situation for the last 3 drafts. 23, drafting Jay Kaner. 24, drafting Spencer Rattler. This year, drafting Tyler Shuck.
In the second round.
This is like welcome to the newest dating show. Quarterback love is blind. Like if you look these guys up, every one of these guys, pretty handsome. I know Spencer Rattler has his haters out there. Jay Kaner is a model. Tyler Shuck, he has a little bit of an elder statesman to him. I think he's older than both Spencer Rattler and Jay Kaner combined.
Probably.
I think he's like 54
Yeah.
Coming into that Saints room. Who the hell is going to – it seems like the Saints have already made their decision. They're like, you know what? Let's just roll with these guys. If we can get out from underneath this cat, let's get out from underneath him.
It's so weird. I don't know what the deal is with the Saints quarterback room. I don't know if I've ever seen this. A quarterback especially – not even notice an injury until literally months, plural, after the end of the season, an injury that took place in Week 14, allegedly, in a game where he also hurt his wrist, and that's really what ruled him out for the season. But he also, I don't know, it just seems weird. There's too many questions here for me to just go with what Derek Carr is saying that, oh, no, that makes sense. Yeah, you just noticed it months later and conveniently or using it to leverage, maybe I want to play, maybe I don't in 2025, while the Saints clearly try to replace you with a new era starting with Kellen Moore.
It's also a tough situation they've placed themselves in, where Spencer Rattler played a little bit last year. I think Jake Haener got some snaps too. You draft Tyler Shuck with pretty high capital in the second round. I think he was a top 40 pick. I think he was 40th overall. What does that say to Spencer Rattler? What does that say to the other guys who were potentially going to compete with? Oh, you didn't even feel comfortable with me. You didn't think we could compete. You have to bring another guy in here. So it's tough for me. I think the Saints have backed themselves into a corner where there is no winner. And they're used to that in the NFC South, where there is generally no winner. It is the losing segment of the NFL, but they're going to have some learning to do in the offseason.
I heard Aditi King-Bawale of CBS on Ramon, Kayla, and Will on the drive-in to beautiful Hermitage Golf Course this morning, and they were talking about the Aaron Rodgers situation, the unfortunately biggest looming storyline left of the NFL offseason. And Aditi kind of went in on Pittsburgh and just their overall handling of the quarterback situation as of late, right? Mason Rudolph, could he be a successor? No, he's not. You draft Kenny Pickett in a quarterback desperation pick. That obviously doesn't work out. The Justin Fields, Russell Wilson thing last year, where you end up with neither of them in 2025, and now here you are with Mason Rudolph and nobody else, and you're kind of being held hostage by Aaron Rodgers. And it makes you kind of sit back and think, oh yeah, the Steelers have really mismanaged the quarterback situation over the last few years. Understanding they've been in a tough spot. Maybe they moved too late. They waited too late in the Ben Roethlisberger era to think about addressing the future. Who has mishandled the quarterback situation more in these last few years, the Saints or the Steelers?
That's tough for me. And honestly, I'm never one to cape up for the Steelers, but two situations here. One, they're always so consistent. They're picking at the back half of the first round. Those quarterbacks are really never going to fall to them with the limbo that Ben Roethlisberger put them in, where it was like, hey, I'm not retiring, I'm retiring, I'm not retiring, I'm retiring. Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. But also, is it weird? Is it wrong to say that I think the Steelers have more options at quarterback now than they did? Kirk Cousins, no longer an option to go to Cleveland with the 75-man quarterback room that they have. We'll talk about that situation later. Derek Carr potentially being added, and now Aaron Rodgers. 3 different quarterbacks with starting experience they could have added. I would have argued, no, they're not going to add Kirk Cousins. No, they're not going to add Derek Carr. The Saints are going to keep him. Now, a situation where they could potentially add one of 3 quarterbacks who could start. Is that wrong to say?
And they have third-round picks to play with after that George Pickens trade.
That is true.
To Dallas. So, interesting. Mike Herndon will join us coming up next. Wrote a great article on paulkoharski.com evaluating this Titans draft class and just trying to set baseline expectations in the immediate aftermath of the NFL draft for the Tennessee Titans. Mike Herndon joins us next. Welcome back. We are live at Hermitage Golf Course. Buddy Allen Carpet One's 9th annual Tunnel to Towers Foundation Tournament. Excited to learn more about Tunnel to Towers a little later on. Mike Herndon joins us to talk about the Titans draft class. But first, we have some news. The pick is in. We have white smoke in the Vatican. We have a new pope. Now, we don't know who the new pope is. Mike Herndon, as we await to find out, who did you have mocked to be the next pope to replace the fallen Pope Francis?
Is that not why Buck's not there today?
That's a good point. We've never seen Buck and the Cardinals in the same room at the same time.
True. That's true.
So you don't have a mocked pope to the Catholic Church.
You know, I had to take a break from mock drafts after the NFL draft. Yeah, as I have a love-hate relationship with them, anyways, and so I did skip the mock Pope draft this time.
Do you abstain from the 2026 mock drafts as well? When do you allow yourself to even dip the toe back in?
I did. I have read one, but I honestly the inclusion of Arch Manning in every single one of them has really turned me off to them this year. So I'm probably quitting mock drafts until at least probably March 2026. I think.
Mike Herndon at Mike Herndon SK1 with us. Check out his latest article on paulkaharski.com about the Titans draft class. We'll talk about it here in a second. But to the Arch Manning point, obviously you are a diehard Texas fan. Is that even I guess as a fan, I'm sure you have that level of concern that he'll be great and move on. But how much confidence do you have that Arch Manning will stick around for not one but 2 more years and exhaust his eligibility the way people seem to predict he'll do?
You know, I've kind of set my expectation level that we're going to get 2 years of Arch as a starter. That is going to be this season, 2025 and 2026, and then he probably goes into that what is going to be a loaded 2027 draft, which I'm already kind of pre-excited about. I'd rather read a 2027 mock draft article actually right now than 2026, but I think that's my level of expectation. If we get 2027 and he goes out in 2028 into the draft, even better. But I won't be disappointed if we get 2 years of him as a starter here in Austin.
Now, the last time we talked to you pre-draft, it felt like it was a therapy session, Mike. It felt like you weren't doing well with the overall state of the Titans. Where are you now as we sit here about 2 weeks away or 2 weeks removed from the 2025 NFL Draft?
Listen, I'm the walking embodiment of the Michael Scott "I'm ready to be hurt again" meme. It is. I'm swept up in the Cam Ward stuff, and I think he's talented. I've always thought he's talented, but I think the more I've read about him, the more I've watched him, the more I've heard interviews with him, the more I'm excited about not just the playmaking and the live arm and the ability to escape pressure and create for himself and do all those things that makes him great on the football field, but the person that he's going to be and the kind of personality he's going to bring to this football team. Because I think his kind of magnetic personality, very mature person, I think that's exactly what you want in a team leader. And I think the Titans are in a bit of a leadership crisis currently and desperately need somebody like him to walk in and despite being 22 years old, kind of be the adult in the room. It's a lot to put on a young guy, but that's why he's the number 1 pick in the draft.
Mike Herndon joining us. You can follow him on Twitter at Mike Herndon SK1. Mike, the Titans re-signed James Lynch yesterday. If you're looking at his stats from last year, played in 17 games, didn't start any of them, a couple passes defended, a couple quarterback hits. What are they getting bringing James back this year?
I liked what they got from him last year. I mean, he's not a huge numbers producer for sure, but he gives them a little bit of pass rush juice that they've, kind of lacked otherwise. I think Tavondre Sweat is more of a pocket pusher than a penetrator. Jeffrey Simmons, can do a little bit of it all, but he's just one guy. And then Sebastian Joseph Day, not that much of a pass rusher. So they need that kind of penetrating, quick interior presence. And I think Lynch does bring that to the table. He's a good fit with this group. And I thought the defensive line was one of the few pluses of this team last year, and it's nice to see them basically bring that whole room back intact at this point.
And if you're talking about interest, the one-year experiment with Gabe Davis in Jacksonville is over. He is now a free agent after being released. Should the Titans be interested in him, or do you think his skill set is a little redundant with what they already have?
Yeah, I would probably pass on Gabe Davis. Yeah, it's concerning when the Jaguars pay a guy $20 million to go away after a year. And I know there's a regime change there and things like that, and Davis did have some success in Buffalo, but I think he's kind of a one-trick pony. I thought he was, that last offseason when he was a free agent is why I wasn't a big proponent of the Titans trying to go sign him in free agency last year. So, no, I don't think they should be interested. They've got, obviously Lockett and Ridley that are going to absorb a lot of the snaps up top. But then I think they need to lean into these young guys. I mean, you got to give DK and Naya Manor and even a Bryce Oliver and guys like that a chance to play, I think, because you're not in a win-now window. You need to find guys that can be a part of this thing as Ward grows into whatever the best version of himself is, likely in 3 or 4 years. And that's going to be those guys, not Gabe Davis.
Mike Herndon with us. Read his article, New Era, New Identity, what the 2025 NFL Draft says about the Titans' future on paulkaharski.com. So what did you feel like you learned, Mike, about Mike Borgonzi and just how he wants to build this team in the draft?
Yeah, I think it was a very clear message. One, and I already kind of mentioned this with the leadership crisis, I think he acknowledges, and I think they feel internally that they don't have the kind of leaders in that locker room, or didn't last year anyways, that they needed. And it's not a surprise either, right? I mean, if you look at the big picture of this thing, really since, about 2021, you lose Ben Jones, you lose Ryan Tannehill, you lose Taylor Lewan, you lose Derrick Henry, you lose Kevin Byard. That's a lot of leaders, and really the core of those football teams that were winning the division and going deep in the playoffs and doing those things. They've lost all the leadership from that group, besides really Simmons. Simmons, I don't know. I think there's questions about his leadership style, whether that's what they really want. And it'll be interesting to see, how these guys grow. But if you read the bios on all these guys, just, I went through the beast. Dane Brugler's excellent piece, and he often has quotes in there, from coaches, personnel men, stuff like that. And he, almost every single one of these draft picks, I think 6 of the 9, he had like some sort of fawning quote of, this guy's just an excellent leader. He's a, A-plus kid, great in the locker room, going to put forth the work ethic that you need. So all these guys check that box, and I think that was very intentional. And then the other thing I think we learned about Borgonzi is they're going to value traits and what these guys can become at the NFL level rather than just what they were at the college level. It's a very Green Bay model, and they Green Bay. You look at guys like Rashawn Gary that they took, who was not productive in college but had the traits, and then it's developed into a really nice pass rusher at the NFL level. And there's plenty more examples of that. There's Jaden Reed, another example of that in Green Bay, that was not super productive in college, but they saw the traits there that they thought they could turn into something, and he's turned into a really nice player for them. So I think that's where they place their emphasis in the draft, clearly, is kind of this character and traits boxes, and we'll see if it pans out for them. It is not a guaranteed result that you're going to get what Green Bay has gotten over the last 20 years, but I think it's very clear that that's the direction that they're headed.
Yeah, and in a lot of those cases for Green Bay over the years, Mike, those are situations that had to develop over time, right? Not necessarily coming in and immediate day one contributors. We understand Cam Ward will have to be that for the Titans this year, and he'll sink or swim regardless as a rookie. But just at first glance with rookie minicamp around the corner this weekend, Cam Ward aside, who to you is the rookie that will have the biggest opportunity to make an impact? Maybe not so much based on the player, but based on the lack of depth at their respective position.
I think Gunnar Helm is going to get, and I know people are going to roll their eyes, calling me a Texas homer right now, probably into the radio, but I think, Tig Okonkwo is ideally suited to be more of a complimentary tight end anyways. He's a good player, not taking a shot at Chig or anything, but I think Helm is going to quickly surpass Josh Wiley because I think he does all of the things that they wanted Wiley to do, but does them at a higher level. And obviously this is a new regime, and they've now invested directly in Helm. And I think Helm's going to play right away. I think he's going to be a third down red zone weapon right away. And I could see him being a great safety blanket for Cam Ward early in his career. The guy catches everything, huge frame, huge target, and is able to go high point the football with the best of them. So I think he's going to be a guy that we could see some early contribution from in this draft class.
Talking with Mike Herndon, you can find his work at paulkaharski.com. Mike, with the leadership the Titans have and Mike Borgonzi from the Chiefs, Chad Brinker from the Packers, both teams are adept at finding UDFAs who can contribute. Did any of the potential UDFAs coming into rookie minicamp catch your eye?
Yes, I think obviously Restrepo, and I was a proponent of his pre-draft. I think regardless of if he's still running his 40 or not, I think it's a guy that knows how to get open, and some of the numbers as far as in-game speed are better for him than what his 40 time was. I think he's got a real chance to make the roster for some of the same reasons that Helm, I think, will be productive. Quarterback friendly, understands how to run routes, understands leverage, understands spacing. We heard a lot of commentary about Cam Ward's spatial awareness, which I do think is a great frame of reference to discuss, kind of some of the special sauce of what makes a great quarterback is that concept. And I think Restrepo shares that, and obviously the connection that they already have will give him somewhat of a leg up, although, I think it should be noted that it's not like they spent 4 years together. Those guys were together for like 3 months before they started connecting at a high level at Miami. So I don't think it necessarily gives him that huge of a leg up, but, it's not nothing either. And then the other guy, Devontae O'Malley, I'm very interested in from, I think it's Northern Illinois. Very twitchy interior defensive lineman. Good production as well, just at a lower level. But I'm very interested to see what he looks like. The other defensive lineman, and I'm blanking on his name right now, from Boston College. What is that guy's name? I can see it. I can't remember it. But anyways, I think he's also another. Yes. I think he's got a chance to make the roster as well. So I think those are going to be some guys. We just talked about James Lynch, but he's going to have some real competition, I think, from those guys deeper down the depth chart in the UDFA realm, because those guys are real players, and I think we're draftable players potentially.
With a name like O'Malley, you'd think he's from Northern Ireland and not from Northern Illinois. Titans get rookie minicamp started this weekend. What are you interested in learning coming out of Titans rookie minicamp?
I don't know that there's a ton that we'll be able to take away from it. I think I'm excited, like everyone else, to see the first, Cam Ward to Chimere DK deep bomb or whatever clip ends up turning into social media catnip for all of us. But it's, I don't know that there's a ton to take away from it. You want to see, guys get out there and stay healthy first and foremost, and start learning the offense and defense and learning how to practice. That's more or less what these guys are doing, in these few days, so that when they get out there with the veterans, they're not, stopping drills to correct things and things like that. So I wouldn't take too much away from it, but I'm excited to see the clips like everybody else.
Mike Herndon with us. So how much confidence do you really take out of Brian Callahan's experience with Joe Burrow in his rookie year? Just how much confidence do you have? How much does it give you in his ability to work with Cam Ward? Obviously with a very different skill set, but do you look back at that experience of Joe Burrow as a rookie, and does it kind of, I don't know, does it give you that level of confidence going into 2025?
It gives me some level of confidence. I think Zach Taylor deserves some credit there too. Obviously, the head coach with the Bengals and an offensive-minded guy himself. But I think the idea of what they did with Joe Burrow, borrowing concepts from LSU, and what they plan to do, it sounds like borrowing concepts from Miami and what really Cam likes in an offense right now, and building that as part of this foundation of this new offense, because I do think they're going to have to change the offense from what they ran with Will Levis last year, for example. I don't think these guys have necessarily the same strengths. They're not going to see certain plays the same way. So I think it's smart to tailor-make an offense for your quarterback, especially one that you just invested a number 1 overall pick in. And he's seen it done before, and he's seen it executed at a high enough level and was a part of it. So I certainly think that experience will help him and give him some frame of reference to be able to lean on. And, I think it's kind of fascinating to me, the Zooms, because Callahan's brought this up multiple times now. Because of the COVID draft and everything with Burrow, he's got all these Zoom interviews, and they basically recorded their entire pre-draft process, and probably, I'm sure, he's still probably got film from their rookie mini camps and things like that. But the fact that he's got so much of that videotaped and saved that he can go back and reference and kind of use as a come along for Ward, I think is a fascinating kind of subplot to all this. I think it does give you some level of confidence that he can do it because he's seen it done and was a part of doing it once before.
We're talking about this later today. The win total for the Titans in Vegas right now is 5.5. And we're going to play some audio later of some national voices expressing some confidence that the Titans could smash the over on that. Sitting right here, understanding there are still moves that can be made. We're not even at rookie minicamp. Where are you even putting the baseline for expectations for the Titans in 2025?
Honestly, I agree with Vegas. I think that's kind of the perfect over-under because there's still problems with this team, right? I mean, they have a better offensive line, and I'm actually, after being probably the low man in the market on the offensive line heading into the last 2 off seasons, I'm higher on them this year, I think, than the consensus. I think this is going to be at least a league average group. So I think that's going to improve. I think Cam Ward will be better right away than Levis was, even, Levis in year 2 versus Ward in year 1. I think that'll be a step in the right direction. But then there's so much of it that comes into injuries. Can you stay healthy? Because this team has 0 depth. And that's still an issue. And then there's the pass rush problem on the opposite side with the lack of edge rushers. Inside linebackers a pretty huge mystery right now. Cody Barton, you kind of know what you're going to get, but who starts next to him, we don't even know right now. Are they any good? Who knows? So, and then, I think there's some uncertainty in the secondary as well. There's too many question marks for me to feel a whole lot better than 6 or 7 wins right now. But I think you could win 6 or 7 games and still come away from this season feeling good about the trajectory of the team. It all kind of depends on how it looks, right? A loss is a loss and a win is a win, but there are shades of gray in between, and I think that's where the Titans will probably dwell this season is are we a happy 7-win team or a sad 7-win team? I think those are the options in front of the Titans for 2025.
All right, Mike, we've talked all the real ball. Let's talk fake ball Lance Armstrong here. I got a hypothetical for you. Everybody is always asking athletic quarterbacks with limitations, could you move to running back? Could you move to wide receiver? If we were going to do that with Will Levis, they're like, you got to be able to help this team, son. I need you to strap him on and go out there. Where the hell is he going to play at? What position would you slide Will Levis into if it's not quarterback?
100,000%. I'm putting up an inside linebacker and letting him slam into what. Yeah, there is a need. I'm letting him slam into guys like he wants to do anyways. He lives to just go try to run into people. So, and he looks like an inside linebacker, doesn't he? I mean, can't you just visualize him, putting on 58 instead of 8 and just standing in the middle, calling out the defense. I could see that. He would only last probably 2 games before he'd be injured, but
what are 2 games?
It would be fun. It would be a fun experiment. I'm for it.
For sure. I'm down with that. I love that.
Mike Herndon. Read his work at paulkaharski.com. Mike, thanks, man. Appreciate the time. We'll catch up soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, sir. At Mike Herndon, SK1, where you can follow him on Twitter.
I don't know why I waved to the camera like Mike.
Bye,
was
Mike.
what-
Everybody wave bye to Mike.
Bye-bye, Mike.
Adam Schefter has made it official
The Pope?
that a new pope has been selected.
Well, then it's real.
Then, yeah, I think that is official Vatican policy, that first the white smoke and then the tweet from Schefter. He has tweeted, "White smoke, a new pope has been selected. He will soon appear at the central window of St. Peter's Basilica." So we don't know who it is. Only 2 days of voting. I hear you find the best value on day 2, and that has been put into practice.
So I have been informed that there is a potential new pope whose name is Pizza Boli. Is that true, or is someone trolling me, or is someone pizza trolling me?
To be honest, I feel ashamed that my Pope hot board is not very up to date. I really thought there would be more time to look over the candidates.
Really sneaks up on you.
It does. Every year it sneaks up on you. Every cycle, you look around and suddenly there's white smoke. I want to know. I mean, 3 or 4 votes, I think, is where they're at. I want to know what the record is for the amount of votes, because that can go on. I need to go home and watch the movie Conclave to learn a little bit. We are live at Hermitage Golf Course for Buddy Allen Carpet One's 9th annual Tunnel to Towers Foundation Golf Tournament. And we want to learn more about Tunnel to Towers, and we want you to learn about how you can help. They do some incredible work to help first responders and their families, veterans and their families across the country, and we will do exactly that coming up next on 104.5 The Zone. Oh, it is a gorgeous day. That means it is a perfect afternoon for you to go out to your lunch break to Fog Street Lawn Club, the coolest new spot in Music City, Nashville's premier soccer pub, your go-to place to watch Nashville SC. It's also open early on weekends for those Premier League games. There's a great crowd there watching the games, enjoying the sunrise on that gorgeous rooftop, even for those 6 a.m. kickoffs. But no matter the sport, NBA, NHL playoff action, Fog Street Lawn Club makes sure you won't miss a moment and you'll never get bored. Check out the rooftop. It's the most picture-perfect view of downtown Nashville you can find. Trust me on that one. Go and find out for yourself. You can play British-style lawn bowling or cornhole for free up there on the rooftop, or go downstairs, challenge your friends to some axe throwing right next door at Bad Axe. Fog Street Lawn Club gives you the experience of downtown Nashville without the craziness of Broadway. It's family-friendly, great for all sports fans. They have a great menu of British pub-style food. Go try the fish and chips and a large drink selection. Happy hour, Monday through Thursday from 3 to 6 p.m. And check them out at Fog Street Lawn Club. as we broadcast live from Buddy Allen Carpet One's 9th annual Tunnel to Towers Golf Tournament from Hermitage Golf Course. Lucas Panzica, Robert Walsh with you until 1 o'clock. Kirby Allen Kirby is making it happen. Jackson Williams back at the station. And we are joined by Eric of Tunnel to Towers to tell us more about this foundation, a nonprofit program helping America's heroes by providing mortgage-free homes to Gold Star and fallen first responder families with young children and so much more. Eric, thanks so much, man, for sitting down.
I cannot thank you enough for having me.
Well, we love being here every single year. It's a beautiful day for it. And we were talking to Zach from Buddy Allen Carpet One earlier about just how you guys caught his eye and just what attracted him to Tunnel to Towers. And now here you guys are almost a decade later. Is it crazy to think that we're on year 9 of this thing?
Of this tournament, it's amazing. And just how well done it is and how many local people and local companies come out to support it. Every year, it's an amazing event, for sure.
Family-run, top-rated charity, over 94% of all funds going to do great work. T2T.org is how you can learn more about how your donations help change lives. I imagine we could go on about this for a long time, Eric, on just the difference that you guys make. But can you give us a summation in your mind on what it is that you guys do that you are most proud of?
Well, it's a continuation of a story. Our charity is born out of the tragedy of 9/11. Firefighter Stephen Siller was a firefighter who just gotten off duty and was going to go play golf with his brothers, which is one of the reasons why golf is a big part of what Tunnel to Towers does and why a lot of people do golf events for us, and we do our own as well. But he was getting off a shift, go play golf with his brothers when the Twin Towers were attacked, so he went back to his firehouse, got his gear, was going to drive through the tunnel to go join his brothers in the buildings, and it was blocked. He couldn't get through, so he strapped on 60 pounds of gear, and he ran through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel into the South Tower, which was the first to fall, and he died there, and his body was never recovered. So his brother Frank Siller started the Tunnel to Towers Foundation in order to provide mortgage-free homes for people just like Stephen. Stephen had 5 children and a wife, and Stephen himself was orphaned. So he lost his parents both before he was 10 years old, had to move from Staten Island to live with his older brother on Long Island. So he gave up his school, his church, his friends, everything was familiar at a very young age, and it just changes how a person lives. So they made the promise that if a first responder or a member of our military gets up in the morning, they kiss their family goodbye, they go to work, and they don't make it home, that we'll provide them with a mortgage-free home for their family.
One of the fantastic things that Tunnel to Towers does is help build homes for tragically injured veterans, adapted homes, smart homes for them. Do you have any success stories from that you'd like to share with the audience?
It's an amazing process because one of the things I found with our veteran community is they're proud. It's hard to give them help, and so to see that breaking down to say there are people that want to help patriots like me, everyone's a beautiful story. We have 3 homes we broke ground for in November here in the Nashville area out in Franklin, and we have 3 catastrophically injured veterans that are going to live in those 3 homes, and I think it's special because they chose to live together. We also have a community down in Florida. It's called a Let Us Do Good Village. It's in Lendo Lakes, Florida, and it's a community of about 90 homes. It will eventually get to that point of homes that are either smart homes for these catastrophically injured first responders and veterans, or they can easily be converted to that. So it's for Gold Star families and families of fallen first responders. So it's hard to pinpoint one, but when you look at the sacrifice, and it's evident because it's shown on their body by missing limbs or disfigurements of different kinds, and just to be some part of something that's letting our fallen soldiers live in dignity, it's amazing.
Again, T2T.org. That's the letter T, the number 2, and the letter T.org, where you can go donate and learn more about Tunnel to Towers. You guys impacted, thousands of families across the country, but there is a local story about Hendersonville officer Bristol, who was killed in the line of duty, and locally you guys have paid off the mortgage for his family as well as Gold Star families in Tennessee, and you continue to work with the families of recently fallen service members and first responders. Can you tell us more about Officer Bristol and how you guys got involved with his family?
I can't tell exactly how we got involved, but typically people will contact us. Usually it's because they have a family member or a friend who knows about us, and then will connect us. That happens quite a bit. We are at a point now where, because of our news coverage that we're getting and the more recognition we're getting, we're people are reaching out to us more. We also have a better network with our first responder community, so we're able to be notified quicker by them and reach out. And it's amazing when something like that happens, that tragedy strikes, then within a days, it seems like we're in contact with someone in the family to make that happen. So it's an amazing process, and we're everywhere. We never know where that's going to happen. You know, it happened here in Tennessee. Last year in Charlotte, North Carolina, we had 4 officers killed in one incident. It happens in Cincinnati, where I'm from. We had one last week where an officer was killed, so you just never know. But it's amazing how responsive we are. And people always ask me, because I work with donors a lot, do you have anybody waiting on money? And we don't. The nation supports us so well that if something happens, we can be there within days to make sure that family, though they're going to have other things to deal with. We're not taking away every one of their problems, but the biggest problem most of us face is, where am I going to live? And when that's threatened by the death of the breadwinner, it can cause a lot of anxiety, and we're happy to know that we can take that off their plate and help them deal with the other things in their life as well.
One of the coolest things I learned when reading about you guys, 94% of all the funds you guys recover goes to the project. How important is that for you guys, that most of the money you guys bring in goes back to the people in need?
It's the paramount. I mean, to run a charity, you have to have a certain amount of, people like me working, and you have to have accountants, and you have to have lawyers and all these things. But by being smart and knowing what's important, you can put all your money to your mission. Because our donors, the one thing I know about our donors and the people that support us, whether it's $11 a month or whether it's people that give millions of dollars, they don't care about the perks of donating. They just want to see that smart home recipient. They want to see that mortgage paid off. They want to see our home as Veterans Village, all of those things. So it's vitally important that we keep that number around 93, 95 cents on every dollar. And it goes between that it seems like every other year. So it's one of the most important things about our charity. We want to keep it that way.
That's awesome. And if you guys want to donate, you go to t2t.org, and you can donate. If you're coming down here to see us at Hermitage, you can donate here too.
That's right. The link is in the F&M Bank chat on YouTube, 104.5 The Zone TV, also Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Eric, thanks so much for the time and telling us about your project.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being out.
Pleasure's all ours, man.
Again, t2t.org, where you can learn more or go to donate. Tunnel to Towers, a nonprofit program helping America's heroes and its families. When we come back, there is some breaking NFL news about a former Titan that is back on the market. We'll talk about it next. It is lunchtime. That should mean it is time for Hattie B's. Visit any one of their 7 locations: the Factory at Franklin, Lower Broadway, Melrose, Midtown, Nashville West, even the Nashville Airport. Open daily at 11 a.m., except the Factory at Franklin, open early for breakfast on weekends at 7 a.m. Pretty good brunch spot. You got people in town. What better way to take them to a Nashville brunch than a Nashville hot chicken brunch? Hattie B's is a family-run restaurant, serves up your favorite Southern food and authentic Nashville hot chicken. Cook to order, add your spice level, hot or not, with your favorite piece of chicken. Pick your favorite side. They've got the best in town, my personal favorite, the pimento mac and cheese. Download the Hattie B's app today. You can accomplish multiple things. You can skip the line, walk in, get your Hattie B's famous hot chicken, and head back to the office. You can order for delivery, and just by downloading the app, you get a free dessert simply by doing so. You can also bring the heat to your event, party, wedding, corporate function. Let Hattie be your guest of honor. Visit HattieB.com for the website and download the Hattie B's app today.
What's going on? 12 o'clock from the Buddy Allen Carpet One 9th Annual Tunnel to Towers Golf Tournament, broadcasting live from Hermitage Golf Course. I am Robert Walsh. The Titans made a transaction yesterday, signing defensive lineman James Lynch. Ian Rappaport reporting it is a one-year deal for the 26-year-old who spent last season with the Titans. Team also waiving linebacker Kyron Johnson and wide receiver Tay Martin. In breaking NFL news this morning, the Carolina Panthers are releasing Jadeveon Clowney after a year into his pretty deep contract he signed with them. He had an amazing stint in 2023 with the Ravens with 9.5 sacks, failing to reach those heights with the Panthers. You got NBA playoffs tonight. The Timberwolves hosting the Warriors in Game 2 of the Western semifinals. Golden State with a 1-0 lead. Tip-off at 7:30. And in the NHL, second-round action tonight. The Capitals hosting the Hurricanes for Game 2 at 6 p.m. Carolina has a 1-0 lead. In the West, the Golden Knights look to even the series at home against Edmonton in Game 2. Puck drop is at 8:30. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Clowney Watch, part, I don't know how many Clowney Watches there have been. Since he was drafted with the number 1 overall pick in 2014 to the Houston Texans, the Carolina Panthers have released edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney, the former Titan, former Texan, former Raven, and former Panther. He had 5.5 sacks in his lone year with Carolina after a double-digit sack season with the Baltimore Ravens that followed his 0 sack season with the Tennessee Titans. There was a pit stop in Seattle between his Texans and Titans tenure. But Jadeveon Clowney is back on the market. How do we feel, Titans fans, at a spot where it is a big need off the edge for the Titans? 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. We are also live on 1045 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch as we broadcast live from Hermitage Golf Course at the Buddy Allen Carpet One 9th Annual Tunnel to Towers Golf Tournament.
Two things. Did you know Jadeveon Clowney's nickname was Doo-Doo?
No, it wasn't.
Well, it's on Pro Football Reference. It says right there, Jadeveon Clowney. In
it does say that.
Doo-Doo.
It says that. I've never heard that in my life.
I had no idea. When this happened, I told you, hey, I would be ecstatic if the Ravens would bring back Jadeveon Clowney. He had an incredible year with them, and you said no. I would not be interested for the Titans to bring Jadeveon Clowney. That's interesting to me. A tale of two cities. Why would you not want to bring Clowney back in?
Well, the experience in Tennessee was not the same as it was at pretty much every other stop. I mean, Clowney, went to Seattle, had a 3-sack season, appeared in 13 games, comes to Tennessee. It was filled with hype. Clowney Watch all offseason. He's got the relationship with Vrabel, going back to Mike Vrabel's time as the defensive coordinator in Houston. And it ended up being an injury-plagued season that was cut short due to a knee injury. A very unproductive season for Jadeveon Clowney, who turned around and went to Cleveland in 2021 and had a 9-sack season the following year. Like you said, goes to Baltimore. I said double-digit sack, not quite, in 2023. A 9.5-sack season, though, with the Ravens. Last year, a 5.5-sack season with the Panthers. You would take that right now if you're the Titans. I think Titans fans are going to have that 2020 experience in the back of their mind with Clowney, who is only 32 years old. He's not, what is that, 4 years younger than Kyle Van Noy at this point, who was incredibly productive for Baltimore again last year. If Jadeveon Clowney did not have the 2020 season that he had with the Titans, if he was never a Titan, Titans fans, I bet, would be clamoring to sign Clowney right now. And maybe there are some that will. Again, 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Maybe we'll put it to a poll. Do you want Jadeveon Clowney back in Tennessee? And maybe it's faulty for me to look at an experience 5 years ago, different coach, different GM, totally different tenure, different Titans era, and use that to color my opinion on Clowney now, saying I'm good, even though it's a huge need. But that's where I am. Dixie says if he's cheap, sure. I mean, I guess if it's a low-risk, high-reward move for the Titans, Kirby is vehemently shaking his head. Absolutely not.
He Randy Mossed them. He came in here and skated and did nothing for a season, took a check and left. Same thing Randy Moss did.
Vic Beasley certainly did that as well that same season. Beasley was the worst example of that, of literally taking the money and running, not wanting to even be a part of it. That has been well publicized after the fact. But Patrick on the F&M Bank chat says 0% interest in Clowney. Knocktrop says, do we get first dibs? Titans are at the very top of waivers. Titans will get their pick of whatever player they want.
As long as they are subjected to waivers.
Yes.
Now, he is a vested veteran, so he will not be subjected to waivers. He can sign with whatever team he wants. So, no, Knocktrop, you will not have first dibs on Clowney. But I would say they should at least be partially interested. Now, I think it would be a misnomer to say, hey, defensive coordinator's name's absent in my mind right now for the Titans. Denard Wilson. To say, oh, well, Clowney was exceptional with Denard Wilson. Well, Denard Wilson was only a DB's coach with the Ravens. He wasn't the defensive coordinator there, so I don't think you could say that he and Mike McDonald's defenses would be increasingly similar. It would be tough for me to make that account, but I would say that someone who's had 20-plus pressures in both the last 2 years, 5-plus sacks in both the last 2 years, they need a contributor.
Yeah.
So if they could meet on common ground and you talk to him and you feel like he's in a good headspace, different from 2020, then I think the Titans should be interested. They've got money to spend. They got me. You can't take it with you, Lucas.
How many pressures in that season with the Titans did Clowney have?
11. That is his lowest
in 8 games.
Yes, that is. Well, he had 12 with Cleveland in 29, which was also a kind of a tight year for him. 2 sacks that year. So I could see it both ways. 100%, I could see it both ways. And if Titans don't want to show interest, so potentially the Ravens could sign him, then be that as it may.
You want the Ravens to sign Jadeveon Clowney? Yes,
I would be. They need a veteran edge. You can never have too many edges, in my mind. Oh.
If I'm not mistaken, Kirby's throwing teas here. If I'm not mistaken, the Seahawks have a need at pass rusher, right? Mike McDonald obviously was the defensive coordinator in Baltimore when Clowney had his successful season there. Now the head coach in Seattle. Maybe that's a potential landing spot. That would be another second stint for Clowney if he were to go back to Seattle. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a huge need. So maybe it is wrong for me to use that experience from 5 years ago and apply that now to 2025 for a player who is 32 years old and can give you something better than what you currently have right now around Arden Key and Draymond Jones. That is your pass rush off the edge right now for the Tennessee Titans. Jalen Harrell is a 7th-round pick out of Michigan. Maybe you can get something out of it. But right now, Arden Key and Draymond Jones make up your pass rushing core if you're the Tennessee Titans. Zadarius Smith is a name that's still out there that Titans fans have brought up a lot. Obviously joined the Lions for the stretch run after the injury to Aiden Hutchinson. He is the same age as Clowney, slightly older. He'll be 33 this season. Clowney turned 32 in February. So if you're just looking for a body to get in here, again, they just need bodies there. So I wouldn't scoff at it. It wouldn't be the end of the world.
But I don't think it would be a season-changing addition.
It wouldn't change any expectations, exactly, that I would have of the Titans' pass rushing core. It would feel somewhat similar, like Buck has compared the Van Jefferson signing to the Jamal Adams signing last year at safety. Like, okay, right, it's a guy that, did this X amount of years ago. Now, Adams, a better player at his pinnacle than Van Jefferson, who hasn't been a legitimately productive receiver since his rookie year with the Rams a few years ago. But a Clowney signing in Tennessee would feel very much to me like similar along that thread of a Jamal Adams, of low risk, middling reward. I don't even know what a higher reward would be for Clowney.
If he had
6 to 7 sack season.
Yeah, if he had 5 sacks and 20 pressures, I think that would be a good addition. If you can grab somebody like that after the draft, those guys don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
That would be an exceptional ad. Now, someone in the chat noted, I'd be down for it if he was cheap. The Panthers, in releasing him, clear $7.8 in cap space while taking on $6 million in dead money. So he's making a chunk of change, even though he's getting cut. I think that would knock down his asking price. Now, does he want to go to a contender, or does he not mind coming to Tennessee? No tax on that money, and he can be a part of a rebuilding room. Is he okay with that?
Spotrac has Jadeveon Clowney's market value at $11.4 a year.
So meet him in the middle. You're making 6 on dead money, 5.5. 1 year deal, $5.5 million. Would you scoff at that?
No, I wouldn't scoff at that. But getting into the double digits on a 1-year deal for Jadeveon Clowney is where you start to.
Well, and then you would wonder if they would try to mitigate that by doing a 2-year deal, but then you have the risk of it being an old maid contract. He comes in, he doesn't play that well. Well, now you've got him on the hook for another year.
Right.
That is the kind of cap gymnastics, contract gymnastics, if I could talk today, that Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi are going to have to figure out if they want to add him.
He signed a 2-year, $20 million deal with Carolina, and that was Clowney going back home, right?
And that was, yes, but that was also thought of as high market for him at the time. That was, and he was a later free agent ad, if I remember that correctly. So he got top of the market, even though he got signed after the initial free agent burst had come about.
Bart on the F&M Bank chat says, no, thank you. That'd be like going back to an ex who looked good but was a terrible person.
I know that all too well.
Mr. Keefe on the F&M Bank chat says, Clowney going to the Eagles for a championship. Mike says he thinks it would be low risk, no reward. Mr. Keefe back in the chat saying, we are rebuilding. Clowney does not fit in a rebuild. D2 Squared says, if it were the same Clowney that we got before, it is not better than what we have. Only in name. He did nothing when he was here.
Now, see, I wonder if adding these former premier pass rushers can do something for the development of Femi Oladejo. We always bring up, like, oh, he gets to be in a quarterback room with so-and-so. Oh, they get to be in a room with this guy. I would love to know from Blaine, from Ramon, from former players, how much weight that actually carries.
Yeah.
How much do veterans actually pour into rookies when they don't have they don't have to do that on a team. They're not a pillar of a team. They were just brought in. Like, how much are they actually pouring back into people? D-Hop was a good example for that. People talking about how D-Hop was constantly helping wide receivers prepare.
And quarterbacks, yeah.
I wonder if Clowney would be that type of player. That's tough.
I don't know. I don't know enough about Clowney. I didn't cover him in person or anything like that. I did leave out Oladejo when talking about the Titans pass rushing core. It's Draymond Jones, Arden Key, and Femi Oladejo, a rookie who was moved to an edge rusher role at UCLA 3 games into his final season at UCLA, had been an off-ball linebacker for essentially his entire college career, going from Cal to UCLA. So we talked to Mike Herndon about it. That is a high upside trait C draft pick for the Titans, who they believe to be a high character, high energy effort guy with great physical attributes. You would be very fortunate, in my mind, to get something out of Femi Oladejo in his rookie year in the NFL, right? For a guy who's literally played 8 games in his college football career as a pass rusher and was productive and flashed in those games. But that is one of the more, maybe next to Kevin Winston Jr., the 2 most upside picks of the draft, right? Cam Ward, you need it now. He is your franchise quarterback. I mean, a lot of these other players, Io Manor even, can help you now with the need you have at receiver. DK gives you that take the top off the defense element at wide receiver. But Winston Jr. and Oladejo feel like the most traits upside guys of this draft, and it's hard to ask a lot of those guys in their rookie year. Oladejo is going to have every opportunity, but Jadeveon Clowney, again, would just be a body, and this team does need bodies on the outside. I'd probably lean to Zadarius Smith if you're looking to kick some tires and bring in an extra veteran pass rusher, but maybe I am too quick to think back to what happened here in 2020 and say, no, I don't want any part of it, because he has I don't want to say he hasn't been overly productive. He has helped every team that he has been with since that point, right? Would you say he has fulfilled what he was brought in to do at every stop? 9-sack season in Cleveland, in Baltimore, 5.5 sacks last year in Carolina.
I would agree with that. And something else I think you could agree with is that it is a star-studded event here at the 9th annual Tunnel to Towers golf tournament. I've seen Santa Claus. I've seen sheep. I've seen gophers. There are a ton of people out here that you need to come mess with, not us included. If you're coming out here, you're coming for Santa or you're coming for Kirby.
That's right. Kirby alone. And you're coming to donate to Tunnel to Towers. You can do that here in person at Hermitage Golf Course. You can make your donation online at T2T.org. That is the letter T, the number 2, and the letter T.org. Tunnel to Towers, a family-run, top-rated charity. Over 94% of all funds go to do great work helping America's heroes and their families, fallen first responders, veterans, and more out here at the 9th annual Tunnel to Towers Golf Tournament presented by Buddy Allen Carpet One at Hermitage Golf Course. There is some audio of the final exchange between Titans GM Joe Schoen Giants GM Joe Schoen and Titans GM Mike Borgonzi from day one of the NFL draft. We will listen to that and talk about post-draft expectations for the Tennessee Titans on the other side on 104.5 The Zone. Hey guys, that's Lucas, and I am counting down the days to Saturday, May 17th for Game Terminal's 4th annual Beer Fest. That's right, Saturday, May 17th, 2 to 6 p.m. out at Game Terminal on that beautiful 8,000 square foot back patio. And you might hear Beer Fest. It's more than just beer. Get ready for a day filled with beer, cider, alcohol tastings at an unforgettable in-person festival. We're talking about over 35 tastings on a growing list of over 20 different vendors. There will be music from a DJ, games, fun, excitement, tastings, gift bag, and swag, all included with your purchase. It's $40 online, $50 at the door. You can buy tickets online at 1045thezone.com. And the best part, it's a charity event. Proceeds will benefit the Nashville Humane Society. If you haven't been to Game Terminal, it's Nashville's largest arcade, over 250 games spanning 40 years. You can play the games inside, hang out, playing cornhole, enjoying the sunshine on the back patio. It's going to be a great event. Bring your friends. Again, 1045thezone.com is where you can get tickets benefiting the Nashville Humane Society. And I will see you Saturday, May 17th at Beer Fest at Game Terminal. The white smoke is billowing into the Vatican sky. The pick is in. And for the first time in the history of the world, we have an American Pope.
USA! USA!
Pope Leo XIV, Chicago's own Cardinal Robert Prevost, the first ever American Pope to be elected the 267th Pope in the history of the Catholic Church.
Took him long enough.
As an American Catholic, I never thought we would see the day where a Pope would come from the United States.
Well, hold on. You said his name was Pope Leo. Why is he? Is that like his sign?
Oh, come on. You know this. You know how this works.
I don't know how this.
You don't know how this
I was
works.
raised in a daggone Baptist
You
church.
choose.
I don't know nothing about this.
That is his Pope name.
You get to choose your own Pope
That's correct.
name?
You choose your Pope name. That's why he is
What?
Leo XIV. He is
Why
the
would-
14th Pope. Pope Francis, the Pope, rest in peace, who just passed away.
Okay.
Francis is not his real name.
What?
Pope John Paul II was Pope John Paul II because he is the second Pope to take that name of John Paul. Pope Benedict, if I'm not mistaken, the 16th, was the 16th Pope to be Benedict. So the name chosen by Robert Prevost, we have a Robert Pope. Congratulations
No,
to
we
you.
don't have a Robert Pope because his name should be Pope Robert the First. Pope Bobby the First. Pope Bob, Robbie, Robert, Bert. If he would have been Pope Bert, y'all wouldn't have heard nothing out of me.
Bert won is what you wanted him. No, but he is Pope Leo XIV, Robert Prevost out of Chicago, Illinois. We have an American Pope. I'm honestly, like, all jokes aside, I'm stunned. I am absolutely stunned. It was crazy when Pope Francis was elected to have a Pope from South America, an Argentine Pope. That was unheard of. And now that it's an American Pope, it is absolutely insane. So congratulations to Chicago's own. He is a Villanova graduate. I can't believe that we're talking about this, but we have an American Pope. I mean, the FNM Bank chat also is stunned. This is the most I have seen a discourse around the papal election. Only 4 votes. It didn't take long. He won over his fellow Cardinals very, very quickly. Congratulations to Pope Leo XIV.
I would like to believe that one of his platforms that he stood on was going to be, since he is American, he's going to bring back beef to Fridays. No longer will Catholics have to eat chicken.
Okay.
They will be allowed to eat beef on Fridays.
No, it's not even. You can't eat meat on Fridays during Lent.
But they can have fish.
Yes,
as meat.
We need to move on.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Pope Leo XIV, the first American Pope in the history. That is incredible. Incredible. Okay, seamless transition. We have video that is leaked from the Giants war room during day 1 of the NFL draft. Giants general manager Joe Shane will get to this audio in just a minute. Jackson, let me know when you're ready.
Who seems like the bridesmaid and never the bride in every situation he's put out in.
Yeah.
I don't know why the Giants continue to put out video of him, whether it's Hard Knocks, whether it's post-draft stuff. He never looks good. He's never been held in decent light when discussing these things.
Well, I couldn't tell if this was more in jest or an actual last-ditch attempt. This is the audio from Joe Shane calling Mike Borgonzi one final time while the Titans were on the clock before the number 1 overall pick.
Hello?
Were you waiting for this? You gonna pick? I had to do it. All right, man. Well, good luck to you, man. I was gonna wait and just call you now on the clock, so I figured you guys were picking, but I thought I'd give one more swing. All right, good luck to you. Tennessee's gonna pick. I think Ward's going here.
Good luck to you, man. I just thought I'd give you, please, Mike. I'm begging you. You just got hired. You were just hired. You have years in front of you.
Much time.
You have years in front of you. We're desperate, Mike. Please. I'm not buying that was just an in jest. Like, I'm just messing with you. You know, I had to try. Congrats, man. Good luck. No.
I'm glad that you called. I was actually having second thoughts on drafting this guy. You want to come up here? Maybe 15% less than we already talked about? Doesn't he sound like the guy calling before? Are you sure you want to go to prom with him? Uh-huh. I had to try. They say shoot or shoot. Hello? No one's there? Okay. It's like, come on, man. Get over it.
Dixie on the FNM Bank chat says he's laughing there but crying on the inside. Giants really wanted Cam Ward. We know this. Adam Schefter had the reporting on the night of the draft that they were willing to give up a future first and multiple other picks that included a third rounder that the Titans did not have at the time. And again, we had this discourse, so we don't have to rehash it. But the Friday morning, I remain stunned, Robert, at some of the reaction among Titans fans. Some Titans, Buck was one of them. How could they pass up that deal? This surprise that suddenly took place, that it was a good deal, that the offer to move up to number 1 was good and they didn't take it. Of course it was good. We knew they called. We knew they offered. We knew they wanted to move up. So we're going to act shocked that a future first was included and be stunned the Titans didn't take it. I did not understand that. And we had Mike Sando come on just the other day, and I'm glad he, made me realize I'm not taking crazy pills, because he said the same thing. No, I didn't bat an eye. Titans wanted their quarterback at number 1. Of course the offer was good.
Okay, good is one thing. See, I very rarely side with Buck, and it's not like I'm going against you here. Maybe we'll say I'm playing devil's advocate for the sake
Play both sides.
For the sake of the record. But, I was also a little shocked that a future first was included, because the conversation around that pick, the whole offseason around the combine was, well, maybe they give you that third-round pick you missed, and maybe they give you a second, and the chat would light up. No, we need a first. I'm not doing it for anything less than a first. And I was always under the assumption, okay, maybe that offer's out there. But the thing that put it over the edge for me was that you got a future first and an assortment of picks. What the hell is an assortment of picks? That could be anything.
It could be, yeah.
That could be.
It's a pretty big.
That could even be more picks. So that is what gave me pause. Now, I won't go as far as to Buck say, as he was like, well, they should have took that deal. Well, if you're convicted that this is your quarterback, then no amount of picks should be able to move you off that selection. But I was shocked that it was a future first plus more picks. So I don't want to disparage him, but he's not here and he can't defend himself. So, God, he's gotten fat, hadn't he? God, he's just letting himself go. He's at a wedding this weekend. He's going to be all covered up with the suit. He needs to get back down there to the Gulch, wherever the hell he's working out, and go to Arm Farm Friday.
Chicago got a Pope before it got a quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a season.
I bet this guy could, too. He looks kind of beefy, man. Actually, he probably wouldn't be a quarterback. I think he's kind of a longer guy. He might be like a little slot receiver.
We are broadcasting live from Buddy Allen Carpet One's 9th annual Tunnel to Towers Golf Tournament out at Hermitage Golf Course. A beautiful day with proceeds going to Tunnel to Towers, a family-run, top-rated charity that helps America's heroes by providing mortgage-free homes to Gold Star and fallen first responder families with young children, and by building specially adapted smart homes for catastrophically injured veterans and first responders. They are committed to eradicating veteran homelessness and helping America to never forget September 11th, 2001. Again, to donate, you can visit T2T.org. And we remind you that 104.5 The Zone's Golf Classic is coming up Monday, June 9th at Nashville Golf and Athletic Club. Hope you'll join us. Flights are at 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. You can purchase your team today by visiting 1045thezone.com. Don't worry, Buck will not be out there. We'll have the same setup, Robert and myself, for better or for worse, doing the show live. Every show will be live 6 to 6. Cannot wait. So, we heard Joe Shane desperately trying a last-ditch effort to go up to the number 1 overall pick. Titans weren't having it. Of course, they stick and pick Cam Ward with hopes that he will be their franchise quarterback. And I want to go back to this audio that I heard, or I was watching Good Morning Football on NFL Network, and they were asking the question. They were essentially asking their panel to buy or sell the Titans being the Commanders of 2025. The Commanders weren't technically worst to first, but you know what I mean. Team of 2025 going from the basement to really, I mean, by definition, one of the better teams in the NFL with a stellar rookie season from their quarterback. This was Kyle Brandt of NFL Network when asked that question and evaluating the Titans' chances to dramatically improve their win total from 3 wins in 2025.
But I'm a huge, huge fan of Cam Ward. I'm not saying that just to say it. Most people are apathetic about Cam Ward. Most people are apathetic about the Titans. And my take on the Titans this year was I don't think they're going to be the Commanders. I do think we will be talking about them. And I'm proud of us because we are one of the few shows in history to talk about the Tennessee Titans. And Good Morning Football, we remember the Titans. And I feel like we should have a counter about how many segments we do about the Titans between now and September. We've already done one right here, so we have more than all the other shows will, but I want to count them, and I think they'll give us more once the season starts. Listen, 8 and 9's on the table for the Titans this year. Hell yes. makes you jump on that? The Commanders are in the ether. That was a really special season there'll be documentaries about. I think Cam Ward and the Titans giving us something to talk about is a big improvement.
How about that? 8-9 on the table for the Titans in 2025.
Is there any bigger panderer in sports media?
Yeah, he loves it.
He loves it. Anything he can do, and he's a pro wrestling fan too, so he cuts those promos. I want to like Kyle, but he seems so disingenuous about nobody else talks about him, so we're gonna do it. Like, shut up, Kyle.
I mean, Good Morning Football as a whole, man. Jamie Erdahl was big on the Titans as a team to get to the playoffs last year. We had her on the show before the season. Hey, watch out for the Titans, and we all know how that turned out. But he's been doing it since the Derrick Henry days, so he is consistent with it.
He needed somebody to get his angry run stuff off the ground. He probably gave that scepter to Derrick Henry so many times he was like, hell with it. I'm a Titans fan, even though he's a Bears fan.
What do you make of that 8-9 on the table for the Titans, according to Kyle Brandt?
That seems very wishful.
Yeah.
That seems very wishful. It seems like he's sipping a little bit of the Kool-Aid that was left over from last offseason. Like, we hadn't even seen them take it. Ain't nobody seen him take a snap with the Titans. He ain't even had rookie minicamp yet. So, like, let's get through that. Let's get through the offseason. I know in sports media we have to do these things where we jump out ahead and go, this is my prediction. I'm going to say they're going to the Super Bowl. Here's so-and-so doing this. You can wait until you have enough information to come up with an evaluation. We can wait until...
Oh, that's okay?
Yes, I know. In our employment papers, it said you have to have an opinion at all times. But you can wait to say, well, they're going to go 8-9. I would not want to be out on that limb because I think it is a thin limb and you will fall out of that tree very quickly. I will wait and reserve judgment. Do I think they're going to be better than last year? Yeah, I do. But do I think they're going to be 8-9? I think Titans fans would be tickled to go 8-9.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me?
Tickled.
8-9 would shatter any preseason expectations Titans fans would have. Tickled is an understatement, absolutely. I mean,
what's the next step up from tickled?
Delirious. I like that, Kirby. I mean, that premise, I feel like, is a dangerous. There it is.
That scared the hell out of me.
That premise is a dangerous one to pose. Anyway, to be the Commanders of 2025. Like, do we realize how extreme of a proposition that is? Jaden Daniels, one of the best seasons by a rookie quarterback in the history of the National Football League. What the Commanders did with their turnaround.
Yeah, not to mention the new coach, the new general manager.
Literally top to bottom, the new owner. I mean, that is such an extreme. That is in its own category of turnaround year over year in NFL history. That feels tough to bring that into the conversation whatsoever. I get where they were doing. Mike Herndon, we had him on in the last hour, and I kind of agree with him that Vegas kind of nailed the over-under, the win total for 2025. They've got it at 5.5 wins right now. We put it to a poll. At Lucas Panzica is where you can go vote on the polls presented by Two Rivers Ford. Right now, Titans fans that have voted are 73% on the over. 5.5 wins. So, naturally optimistic. The feeling's good right now. You've got your franchise quarterback. He's saying all the right things. He loves ball, and we're going to see him on the field. We're going to see the highlights of deep balls to DK and Io Manor, his fellow rookie receivers, and everybody's going to be all excited heading into training camp. But it is a dangerous proposition to sit there and say, could they be the Commanders of 2025? I don't know about that.
Mike Bell offer in the F&M Bank chat offering pickled instead of tickled. Pickled would be worse. I think that's what's going to happen to Titans fans' livers if they have another 3-win season.
Yeah, pickled has a bit of a negative connotation. I like delirious from Kirby.
God, don't play it again yet. Okay, now you can go. I got my headphones off.
No, the Titans going 8-9, delirious is exactly how Titans fans would and should feel. Let's just say, we'll take it in steps. For the Titans, just to get over 5.5 wins, what would have to happen, right? Cam Ward would maybe not be in the Rookie of the Year conversation, but have to do enough to make you very excited about the future with Cam Ward after his rookie season. That's one.
Okay.
Offensive line has to hold up. Lloyd Cushenberry probably needs to be healthy for at least the majority of the season. You need to stay relatively healthy there. You feel like you like what you have from just a starting 5 standpoint, but Kevin Zeiler, I know, has been perpetually available in his career. He's getting up there. Dan Moore Jr. has that contract that he's going to have to play up to at left tackle. There are just some ifs there on the offensive line. But if the offensive line holds up and Cam Ward is just kind of a percentage of what you think he can be long-term, 5.5 wins feels in play.
I would I would disagree with what has to happen for them to have 5 wins. They could have had 5 wins last year if Will Levis wouldn't have thrown a pick 6 in week 1 and then pissed the game away against the Jets. Like, if Cam Ward just comes out and minimizes the rookie mistakes, goes out there, does what he's supposed to do inside of the offense, doesn't try to play hero ball, lets Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears run the ball for him a little bit, I think that's enough to get 5 wins. But, again, different season, different opponents, everything's going to be different. But last season they could have had 5 wins if they wouldn't have had the stupid turnovers to start the season.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, 3 wins last year. To hit the over of 5.5, obviously you need 6. So obviously the Bears game, literally thrown out of the window, week 1. The Jets game, you could say something similar. And then I think to the Jags game, for me that's the most underrated of the games that the Titans handed to the opponent. The 10-6 loss at home against Jacksonville, where you have multiple red zone opportunities.
Mac Jones playing, you're not playing Trevor Lawrence.
Exactly. Wide open targets, not being thrown to or being missed in the red zone for touchdowns that would have won you the game. So you're right. I mean, you are literally a few disastrous quarterback decisions away from hitting that over-under of 5.5 with that roster last year. So it's absolutely feasible. It's absolutely on the table. But 8 and 9, I mean, that 8 and 9 probably needs to be the most optimistic that we're going to get, right? And again, you can look at what the Commanders did and say anything is possible, but to say 8 and 9 about the Commanders last year would have felt insane.
Would have felt utterly insane. And if they were really trying to play the Jaden Daniels card, wouldn't it be Jackson Dart, second quarterback taken? Wouldn't it be the Jets who would be going, or the Giants who would be going worst to first?
Yeah. So, Kyle Brandt, very, very overly optimistic on the Titans in 2025. When we come back, we will revisit our friends from Tunnel to Towers, learn a little bit more just about what you can do to help this incredible foundation helping our fallen heroes and their families. It's also the last call for phone call, 615-737-1045. We'll wrap up the show with some polls next.
Don't fake financial wherewithal. Make sure that you have Trajan Wealth on hand to walk you through the process, whether you're looking at trying a new investment strategy or just want to make sure that your retirement portfolio is ready to go. If you've got spring cleaning on the list to do, don't forget to refresh your finances while you're at it. Trajan Wealth can help you tidy up your wealth management strategy like they have helped so many other people do. The simple truth is that there is more to retirement planning than simply calculating your expenses. Trajan Wealth can help you design a strategy based on realistic options that align with your goals and circumstances. So call Trajan Wealth today and get on the right track. They got 2 locations in Brentwood and Franklin. The number is real easy, 615-270-5000. That's 615-270-5000, or visit them online at TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is a paid advertisement.
finishing out the show on a gorgeous day. Oh, it's been so fun to be out here at Hermitage Golf Course. Buddy Allen Carpet One's 9th annual Tunnel to Towers golf tournament. Lucas Panzica, Robert Walsh with you. Kirby Allen Kirby making it happen. Jackson Williams back at the station. Blaine and Zach got you coming up at 1 o'clock. But Eric Grooms from Tunnel to Towers sits down with us one final time to talk about this incredible foundation helping first responders, families, helping our fallen heroes and their families by providing mortgage-free homes. They're also committed to eradicating veteran homelessness and helping America to never forget September 11th, 2001. The heroic events of that day, really the inspiration for this charity. Eric, you fair to say?
For sure. It's the only inspiration was the heroes that responded on 9/11 and taking care of the families that were left behind for those who made the ultimate sacrifice, for sure, as the inspiration.
Just could you kind of put into context the scale on just how many people you guys have helped? I mean, this year, last year, locally, nationally, to get kind of an idea of just the impact you guys have had.
That's a good question. We have, to date, in their 23 or so plus years, have paid off 100 or 1,500 mortgages across the country to our fallen first responders and Gold Star families. This year, we will build 60 smart homes for catastrophically injured veterans and first responders. Next year, we're scheduled to build 100 more of those, and that's continuing to grow as people who've been injured sometimes for a decade or better are learning about our programs. So that's happened. And our Veteran Homeless Initiative is 2 years old in the last 2 years, because right now statistics say 40,000 veterans are homeless on our streets, which is an abomination to serve your country and come back and not have a place to live. But about 40,000 is what the statistics say, and last 2 years we've helped 10,000 veterans, both in our villages, which are in Houston and in a couple other places in the country, and then we also help them right everywhere where they are. So those are amazing numbers, and it just keeps getting bigger as people support us the way they have been.
And we're at a golf tournament today, but it's not always golf with you guys for raising money. You talked about a fun run you guys have and some other things.
Yeah, two things are in the DNA of our organization because of Steven Siller's sacrifice. He ran through the Battery Tunnel with his gear. So we started, the first big event we had was the Tunnel Run. We do it at the last Sunday of every September. We basically retrace Steven's steps through the Battery Tunnel. It's a 3.1-mile run into Lower Manhattan, just the way Steven did, and was how the fundraising really began. And then because he was on his way to play golf with his brothers, golf became a big part of what we've done. So our two biggest areas have been golf outings like this one, which are independently hosted by the Buddy Allen Carpet One, and they've been doing this several years, as you guys know, and very excited about that. We have other people like that, and we also have a department that we run our own. We have celebrity golf tournaments that are run by people like Wally Joyner, Mark Wahlberg, those things. And then we're starting to do other types of fundraising events. Pickleball's huge for some reason. But those are starting to happen. We have skeet shooting tournaments, like a golf tournament, and various other events around the country that raise money for us.
Now, I'm not a good runner, but I will go out there and shoot some skeet with y'all. That sounds like a lot of fun. If somebody wanted to get involved with you guys, like to come out and put on an event for you guys, who would they get in contact? How would they get in contact with you guys?
It's very simple. The T2T.org website has links to all these things. So if you go to the run section, for example, it'll say if you're interested in starting and sponsoring a run. I met someone here today who is up from Birmingham, who's doing the very first Tunnel to Towers run in Birmingham this year. So
that's awesome.
So you get support from us. We'll give you everything you need. If you do need ambassadors there, we can make that happen. Whatever it is, all the resources are there, and it's pretty simple to find. If you're looking to get involved, it's very simple. Just through our website to contact us, and we have the people in place that'll respond and get you what you need.
Eric Grooms of Tunnel to Towers sitting down with us as we wrap up the show today. So just what's your final message to folks listening, that final step for them would be to help, to donate, to just chip in any way they can?
You know, with our foundation, it's a promise we made that if you kiss your family goodbye, you don't come home, we're going to make sure your family's taken care of. And every dollar you give us, at least 93 cents of that dollar are going to go directly to America's heroes. And that's our mission. It's simple. It's clear. And your $11 a month, or your money you raise from an event, or checks you write at the end of the year when you're doing your charitable giving, whatever, it's going to go to those people who need it. And could not be more proud to represent an organization that does what they say, and you can actually see it being done. It's amazing.
Again, over 94% of all funds going to do great work. Tunnel to Towers, T2T.org, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org. Eric, thanks so much, man. Always enjoy this time of year and coming out to see you
and
guys.
thank you guys for being out here and covering this. It makes the impact so much greater, and we appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Pleasure's all ours.
Yes, sir. That is Eric Grooms of Tunnel to Towers. Again, the Buddy Allen Carpet 1 9th Annual Tunnel to Towers Golf Tournament out here at Hermitage Golf Course this afternoon. All right. Last call for phone call, 615-737-1045. But I think it might be time for some polls.
Bert. The polls brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, the most trusted Ford dealership in the South. Where do you stand on the Titans win total post-NFL draft? The over-under was at 5.5. 73% of the audience going with over. Do you buy into that, Lucas?
I buy into it because of what you were saying on how close, although it seems so far, the Titans were to 5 to 6 wins last year, if not for catastrophic mistakes from the quarterback position. I'm not surprised that over is the majority vote. We are living in a time of optimism between the NFL draft and training camp where everybody's got the best case scenario in mind.
Does Vols football need a general manager? 73% of the poll says yes. And I'm surprised nobody nominated someone in the chat. And there's only one person. Who comes to mind? It had to be Peyton Manning, right?
Peyton Manning is the GM of the Vols.
You wouldn't be cool with that?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough landscape these days in college football.
Come on, everybody else is pulling in all these NFL minds. You know what I mean? Andrew Luck at Stanford, Ron Rivera at UCLA. Come on, you got to bring Peyton back. Let Peyton sell these kids, show that big ass forehead off, bring some people to give their all to Tennessee.
I feel bad doing that to Peyton Manning. That seems like an unenviable position to be a general manager with the current state of college athletics. It's hard to sit here and say that they absolutely need one. We talked about it with Sparks. 11 of 16 SEC teams have a GM. Who else doesn't? Georgia. Right now the most successful program arguably in the conference. So it's really hard. Tennessee's got a big network. Who knows? I don't know if we'll ever know truly the answer to could the Nico situation have been avoided with a general manager in place.
What is the more interesting quarterback situation, Browns or Colts? 78% of the audience going with the Browns. I think the most interesting quarterback situation is the Saints, because we don't know if we're going to get Derek Carr. Is Spencer Rattler going to start? Is Shuck going to beat him out in training camp? Like, there are a lot of moving parts. With the Browns, for me, Joe Flacco is starting week 1. I would bet you $100 on that. So for me, the Browns are pretty cut and dry. Shador and Dylan Gabriel are not going to see the field, early at least, unless there's a catastrophic injury. Kenny Pickett's tiny hands, which were put on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Okay, you know what? Let's have this conversation tomorrow, because there is a conversation to be had here. All great points. Browns, Colts, Saints, the most interesting quarterback situation in the NFL.
Which modern-day billionaire in their prime would make a better Batman? When Buck isn't here.
Just read the poll.
Mark Zuckerberg at 39, 61% going Jeff Bezos.
Oh.
Once again, I disagree with the poll. Did you know Mark Zuckerberg has been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a bunch of... Kirby does not think his skills are up to snuff. But I would say, if you're going to be Batman, you got to have some hand-to-hand combat skills.
I'm on your side. Jeff Bezos in great shape. He's also 61 years old, maybe in his prime, but Mark Zuckerberg, but you're right. I mean, he does these jiu-jitsu training. He does these extreme water sports. He's got nothing but time and money on his hands. I was recently watching the Dark Knight trilogy, and I couldn't stop thinking about what modern-day billionaire would make the best Bruce Wayne.
Jeff Bezos would be more likely to be Lex Luthor with his bald-ass head.
100%. Elon Musk would make a great Batman villain as well, but I think Mark Zuckerberg would be the biggest candidate.
Elon would be a robotic Two-Face.
Yes.
Do you want the Titans to bring back Jadeveon Clowney? Only 15% think they should, 85% saying, leave his ass at home.
Yeah, Titans fans remembering that 2020 Clowney experience was not too long ago. He's been better since. Certainly wasn't good here, but he is available, and the Titans have a very limited core of pass rushers. Are those the polls?
Those are the polls.
All right, that's the show. Big thanks to Hermitage Golf Course, to Tunnel to Towers, and to Buddy Allen Carpet One for having us out here. Again, T2T.org is how you can donate Tunnel to Towers. We'll be back at it tomorrow at 10 a.m. Blaine and Zach got you next on 104.5 The Zone.